Can't they hand out something that she was adding?
She wants to have the thing on logos.
Oh,
I haven't.
good evening and welcome to tonight's Warren City Council meeting. We apologize for the delayed start. We had a budget presentation from Mayor Fouts earlier. So we'll begin tonight's council meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam President.
Mr. Bacamino?
Here.
Ms. Comartin?
Present.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Liss?
Here.
Mr. Sadowski?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Present.
Ms. Vogt?
Here.
Mr. Warner?
Here.
Camp present.
Adoption of the consent agenda.
Need a motion and support?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Green.
Support.
Support by Mr. Stevens. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Mr. Bacamino?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to pull item 4C off the consent agenda.
That's just to ask for a consent for a closed session.
Still like to pull it for discussion purposes later in the evening.
The reason why we put these closed sessions on here is in case we need a closed session, we make the announcement. All that is a formality, Mr. Bacamino.
I'm just questioning, though, if we can all vote on this item, though, if it's on the consent agenda, because of
enough.
a conflict of interest, possibly.
Fair enough, I understand.
Thank you.
Any other discussion regarding the consent agenda? Seeing or hearing none, I'll call the question. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
No.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed 8-1.
Next agenda item is adoption of the agenda, number 5.
Need a motion and support?
Motion to approve with discussion.
Motion by Mr. Sadowski.
Support with the discussion.
Support by Ms. Comartin. Discussion, Mr. Sadowski.
Actually, call me last, because if anybody has any changes or things to add, I think Ms. Comartin.
Ms. Comartin?
Actually, no, I'm just going to put that right to announcements, so I'll be fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Vogt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to add to the agenda, under council business, the letter that we have on our table from Judge Biernat regarding city vehicles.
Okay, any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Sadowski.
item 4C, which was pulled from the consent agenda, it will now be 14Q. And, yes, those are the changes.
And Ms. Votes item will be 18B?
I'm sorry, will be 18B.
Okay. 14Q and 18B. There's no other discussion regarding the agenda. Mr. Sadowski.
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Green?
sorry, can we get someone to close the door back there? The sound is very disturbed.
Do you mind shutting the door, please? Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Manchin.
Next agenda item is number 6, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, March 22nd, 2011.
Need a motion and support?
So moved.
Support with discussion.
Motion by Mr. Green, support by Ms. Comartin. Discussion, Ms. Comartin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 15, it would be the third paragraph down. It's in regards to a motion. Councilwoman Comartin stated she makes a motion on this to receive and file subject to, and that should be council discretion, and it was in regards to the date timeline that we had on the budget, and that was supported by Councilwoman Vogt. So it's discretion instead of discussion. Thank you.
Any other comments regarding the minutes? Seeing or hearing none, I'll call the question. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Item number 7 is approval of the bills.
Need a motion and support?
I'll move the approval of the bills.
Motion by Mr. Liss,
Support.
support by Mr. Green. Any discussion regarding the list of bills?
Discussion, Madam Chair?
Ms. Comartin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Very good.
Good.
I'm going to page 3 of 5, check number 87163. That was for $16,647.84. That was for Precision Environmental. My question is, this goes for February and March, and we have about 28 to 30 servicing invoices. And I don't know if we're rehabbing all our HVAC throughout the wastewater treatment plant, or if we have problems with our equipment going on right now. If anybody can kind of give me an update of what's happening with this. There's many different repairs, and there are some that are on the same day.
Sure. Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that with Dave Monette or Joe Kowalczyk.
Okay, and I really appreciate when you got back to us, you know, at the next meeting. I'm sure I'd like an update before that, but the next meeting was very helpful for some residents, because then they also got to hear the answer. A lot of times they were saying, you know, we don't get to hear the answers that you hear after the fact, so we'd like to hear them too.
No problem.
So that was great. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other discussion regarding the list of bills? Seeing or hearing none, I'll call the question. Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Item number 11, approval of the building, I'm sorry, number 8, approval of the building authority checks meeting of April 5th, 2011.
Need a motion and support?
I'll move approval of the building authority checks.
Madam Chair.
Motion by Mr. Liss, I need a support.
Support, Madam Chair.
Support by Mr. Sadowski. Discussion, Ms. Comartin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On per diem check number 1419 for the per diem for the Building Authority for $50, I need a motion to be excused from that, please.
I need a
Madam Chair,
motion.
I'll amend my motion to include that.
All right. Motion to excuse Ms. Comartin is made by Mr. Liss. Any support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Sadowski. I'm going to call the question to excuse Ms. Comartin first. Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Bachamino?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed, 8-0. Now I need a motion and a support to approve check number 1419.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Liss. Need a support. Support by Ms. Vogt.
Discussion?
Mr. Bachamino.
Madam Chair, with check 1419, $50 per diem going to a council member, I have a question to Judge Biernat regarding the city charter and possibly a conflict per the Election Compensation Committee's recommendations to the judge through the chair.
Mr. Biernat?
Judge Biernat, is there any conflict with, I know we talk, a lot of talk about what supersedes what lately, the city charter versus the building authority bylaws, which one would supersede the other? Is the city charter the law of the land, or is it the building authority bylaws? Or is there a conflict at all, I guess?
Well, this matter has,
Is your microphone on?
this matter has been bouncing around, I think, for quite a while without resolution, although I note that it was referred to the attorney's office and a report was made to this body, I believe, last fall. The crux of the problem seems to be that the building authority's articles of incorporation indicate in Section 1 that no member of the council shall be eligible for membership except in an ex officio basis. And then Section 9 of those articles indicates that officers of the authority and members of the commission shall receive such compensation, if any, and such per diem and mileage payments, if any, as may be fixed by the commission with the approval of council. The bylaws of the City of Warren Building Authority furthermore indicate that officers of the authority, members of the commission, general counsel, and ex-official members of the City of Warren Building Authority shall serve without salary, but may be reimbursed for their actual expenses incurred in the performance of their official duties, and may receive a per diem of not more than $50. Now, the Building Authority Act itself, MCL 123.955, the heading of which is County and Municipal Building Authority Articles of Incorporation Contents, Eligibility of Governing Body Member for membership or appointment, indicates in Section 2 thereof that a member of the governing body of an incorporating unit of an authority is not eligible for membership or appointment to the authority. So it could be argued that there would be in effect an ineligibility here to serve in that capacity. The city attorney's office back on October 12, 2010, apparently submitted a rather lengthy report on this issue, and a portion thereof deals with Public Act 31 of 1948, specifically Section 5, subparent 2, and it prohibits members of the City Council from being members of the Building Authority. I won't go on to quote that act. So what we have is we have this tension between the two. And the recommendation back in November 3rd, on November 3rd of 2010, apparently, one of the recommendations would be to amend the building authority's Articles of Incorporation to delete the language allowing a city council member to serve as an ex officio member. That was never taken, I don't believe any action has ever been taken on that. The bottom line is this council has acted in a given manner for some time now, and the question is it the council's wish to go forward in this manner or to engage in the amendment of the articles? I believe there was some reticence about amending the articles.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Bacamino, are you finished?
Not quite yet, no. I guess then what I'm saying, would a yes vote to approve the compensation to a council member violate in any way the city charter's section 5.1, or is there a possibility that a yes vote could violate the city charter with the election commission's recommendation?
With all due respect, what I would ask for is, if you're asking for a formal opinion on whether or not that is a violation.
Well, I just don't want to vote yes on something that might violate law. I don't have a problem with someone being compensated, but if you're going to advise me that we're breaking the law, I certainly won't vote yes on that.
Well, I'm not prepared at this moment because I wasn't prepared to specifically answer that question, but if a formal opinion is being asked.
Is there a possibility that we could be in conflict
Well,
with?
obviously, the language, there's a disparity in the language. There's a break in the language. There's no question about that. Or it appears to be no question about that. I may be wrong in my observation. I'm just making observation from what I see
Madam.
before me.
Well, the thing is, in the past, I have voted no on this, not to stop anybody's payment, but I did question, possibly think that we could be in violation. There has been talk about whether, state law supersedes city law supersedes bylaws, things like that. And if we are in violation, I don't want to commit a vote to what could be a possible violation. And if you don't have a definitive answer now, I would hopefully request from my colleagues maybe a chance for the judge to study this and maybe table this item, or, but I'd like to hear from my peers also on this, the people that maybe think that possibly this is okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Comartin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was an opinion that was already done, and it is in the Building Authority minutes. When the new members formulated, they had asked that if it was any kind of violation to approve those checks, and they stated no, it was not. Nancy Cooper Green did make an opinion on that. It was stated on the record, and it is reflected in the minutes. Also, if you go to state law, Public Act 123.955B, Board of Commissioners compensation per diem mileage. It says Board of Commissioners compensation per diem mileage, Section 5B. Members of the commission may be paid such compensation and such per diem and mileage for attending meetings as provided by the commission with the approval of the incorporating unit or units. So this unit has approved the bylaws. Those are in effect right now. State law supersedes all charter. We are going through a huge issue right now in another section with the same problem. We also had a problem recently where federal laws trump state law. So there are several issues that have been going on, and this is very clear in here. It's clear in the Commission Article 5.
Ms. Comartin, I don't mean to interrupt you, but unfortunately, due to the fact that you were asked to be excused on the issue, I don't know that I can allow you to discuss it.
Yes, you can.
And I apologize, because
Oh.
I know that you have
Okay, I was just
information there.
clarifying what.
But if you want the floor again when we go to do the overall improvement,
Perfect. Yep.
Mr. Stevens.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've also have voted against the payment on this check, and my quandary is there was a charter provision that stated that as far as compensation for a council member, this is it. They are entitled to expenses with receipts. That had been superseded by an ordinance that we have, and I wasn't prepared for this tonight, otherwise I would have that information with me. But our ordinance basically states the same thing, that you are entitled to your actual expenses as long as you provide receipts. And if that's the case, if you're providing receipts, then I can vote for this, but until that time, I can't vote for it. And I guess Mr. Bacamino makes a good point that we need to get, because I disagree with what you said about Nancy Cooper Green's opinion. I believe her opinion did not say that you could do it. And also the question is still, I mean, are you entitled to be a member, entitled to the per diem? And so at this point, until we get a definitive answer from the city attorney on it, I can't support it. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Sadowski.
Instead of going on and on with this, then why don't we do that? Why don't we get a clarification at the next meeting from the city attorney? We just go ahead and table this and then just move on then at this point.
Support.
Can I just ask the makers of that motion to, I just want to caution against one thing. I have no problem in regards to reviewing the technicality of who's entitled to payment or how they're entitled to payment, but I certainly do not want to see any kind of amendment to our bylaws to forbid a council member being an ex officio member. They don't have to be necessarily a paid member, but I don't want to lose that position, if I can just make that statement. So, I have a motion to table. Are we tabling the entire list of, everything associated with the building authority, or simply check
That
number
check.
1419?
Just the one check.
Okay. Motion to table by Mr. Sadowski, support to table by Mr. Stevens. Mr. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Ms. Vogt.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino.
Yes, to table.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Liss.
No.
Camp, yes. The item was tabled, 7-1. Now we're back to the main issue of the building authority remaining checks, item number 8. Any other discussion from council members?
Was there already a motion on that?
There was a motion by Mr. Liss and a support by Mr. Sadowski. With that, I'll go ahead and call the question. Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Item number 9 is announcements.
Any members of council with announcements this evening?
Madam Chair?
Mr. Sadowski.
Just a note for Warren residents, I spoke with Mr. Gannon before the meeting and also Mr. Sabaugh. Compost pickup started April 1st. So if you, I know this past weekend was a real nice weekend, I cleaned up a lot of my yard. You can put that compost out and it will be collected now till, I believe till October. So on your regular trash day, your compost will be picked up now. Thank you.
Any other announcements from council members?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Green.
I'd like to request a moment of silence. Pam Arnold, a former Warren Consolidated Board member, passed away April 7th after a lengthy illness. Pam is survived by her husband Steve and sons Patrick and Brian, and I know for a fact, and several others here do, she worked tirelessly on behalf of Warren Con students, and she'll be greatly missed.
The moment of silence for Pamela Arnold. Thank you. Any other announcements?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Ms. Comartin?
I have 2 announcements. One for the Warren Symphony Orchestra, a springtime wine celebration. Everybody enjoys premium wines. Please come Thursday, May 19th, 2011, at Champagne's Wine Cellar on 7001 Chicago Road, Warren, Michigan, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And we're going to have a wine tasting and hors d'oeuvres. So they welcome everybody. The contact numbers are 586-754-2950 or you can call Champagne's directly at 268-4900. Tickets are $25 per person and $20 for a tax deduction. And that supports your Warren Symphony Orchestra. The other announcement I'd like to make is for the community development, the CDBG. There has been a change. We have, based on a publication date of April 6th, they are required 30 days of citizens' participation in the new plan period. And that will run from April 11th to May 10th. And they are looking for comments from citizens in regards to the CDBG, home, and HOPWA funds. So everybody is welcome to participate in any comments. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of the comment period that's available. Thank
You
you.
want to tell them where they can submit those?
And it doesn't, let's see if it says,
I think it goes directly to Rose Furlong.
yeah, it doesn't even have,
Mail that address.
actually, yeah, there is no, basically you can contact City Hall for community development at 574-4686, either Nancy Burgess or Rosemary Furlong. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Okay, we'll go to the next agenda item.
Our next agenda item is number 10, a public hearing, consideration and determination in Ray, request of Sarah Tizet, USA Incorporated, to establish an industrial development district to create an assessment base for tax relief under the provision of Act Number 198, Public Acts of 1974, as amended, covering premises at 11350 and 11530 Stevens in Section 27, and consideration and adoption of a resolution establishing an industrial development district.
Item number 10 is a public hearing. Anyone that would like to address this agenda item may do so at this time. Seeing or hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and open this up for council action.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Warner, support by Mr. Stevens. Discussion, Mr. Warner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Burgess?
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm sure a lot of people saw the article in the Macomb Daily today. I was surprised that it was on page 4, though. I thought it should have been on page 1. But regardless, this is a huge investment. Could you give a slight overview for the residents?
Certainly. Representatives from Sarah Tizet are with us this evening. I'll introduce them a little bit later in the presentation. But this company has been working with the Department of Economic Development for over 2 months and are proposing to bring over $9.5 million worth of investment in real and personal property to the city of Warren. They are proposing to purchase a vacant building, 2 buildings down from theirs on Stevens, at the address proposed in your communication received by all the council members. They have been a business in the city of Warren since the 60s. I forget exactly what year. I believe it was 1968. And as part of the request for the Industrial Development District, as the council is aware, they're requesting a Public Act 198 IFT and also a brownfield plan approval this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other comments from council members? Ms. Burgess?
Yes.
One quick question. On our cover letter, it says, in addition, 40 new jobs will be created, but with the backup associated with item 10, other portions state 35.
Yes. The council should have a revised IFT criteria scorecard before them.
I did get that, but I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to look at it.
Okay. There were 2 primary differences between the first scorecard that was presented to council in your packets and the revision of of today, and that was that the first one indicated that there were 35 jobs, and the second one indicated that there were 401 jobs.
Yes.
And that was only a typo. There is going to be 40 jobs created as part of this new investment. The assessor's office made the revision based on the information regarding the investment that was originally provided to them on the IDD application. And when the IFT application was received, that's when the total investment of the $9.5 million became realized, and they were asked to revise the criteria scorecard, which changed the number of years from 10 to 11 for the personal property component. So that was the second change on the scorecard. But the one that you were referring to was the number of jobs, and it is 40 jobs to be created.
All right, thank you very much.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Comartin?
on the, through the chair, Burgess, on the number of jobs, the 40 jobs that we have, what types of jobs are they going to be hiring?
There are going to be several different classification of jobs. Some will be laborers, some will be engineers. I'll really defer that question to our applicants. We did discuss that, and I'm sorry, I don't recall the exact breakdown. There will also be some highly skilled positions because they are applying through the state's mega tax credit program as well, and that primarily deals with the jobs to be created, including the wages and benefits. So they have to meet a benefit and wage level in order to qualify for those jobs, so, or for that program, excuse me.
Okay, and are they using any of the state job searches for people who are, lost their jobs and they're going through the, economic programs right now trying to recoup a job? And
We have talked with them about using Michigan Works and have put them in touch with somebody at Michigan Works as well as the college for training and hiring purposes.
Okay, I know everybody is hurting, and with the amount of job loss, it's great to see a company that is hiring, so we welcome that into our community and really look forward to jobs. Thank you.
You're welcome. We have also offered to place the jobs on the city's economic development website so that if
So
more
they will be
residents are
posted on
looking.
that. And where can they find it?
Well, once the council approves the, or if the council approves the IDD and the IFT, then we'll wait for the state approval and place it on subsequent to receiving the state's approval.
Okay, and then hiring, do you know when that shall be?
That'll be over the next 2 years.
Okay.
But again, I'm going to defer to them to explain in more detail exactly when they plan to hire. It will probably depend a lot on how quickly their project unfolds.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from council members? Seeing or hearing none, I'll call the question. Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Buckamina?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Item number 11 is an administrative hearing, consideration and determination in re request of Ceratizit USA Incorporated to approve an industrial facility tax exemption certificate, Public Act 198, covering premises at 11350 and 11530 Stevens in Section 27, and consideration and adoption of a resolution granting an IFT tax exempt certificate for real and personal property component, determining duration and exemption period and termination date.
Item number 11 is an administrative hearing, so I need a motion and support.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Stevens, support by Ms. Comartin. Ms. Burgess, I think you pretty well covered this already, but I didn't know if you wanted to introduce the applicants. Or-
Could I please?
Sure.
If the representatives from Sarah Tizet would come forward, please. I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Tim Tisler, the President and CEO of Sarah Tizet, Ms. Carol Youngblood, the Controller, and Mr. Richard Barr, their legal representative.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. Good evening. Yes. All right. Did you have anything that you wanted to add?
I can fill in a couple of the blanks in terms of, I mean, we are a tried and true technical manufacturing company. So, sorry, my voice usually carries, so it's not usually a problem. As I said, we're a tried and true manufacturing company. So, in terms of job creation, we certainly would like to continue to extend our current footprint in Michigan. We have a number of CNC operations, pressing operations, CNC machining. We have robotic operations, so certainly there's a technical skill level that comes along with it. So when we say on the labor side of it, that's a piece of the equation. If this whole package is put together the way we think it's going to work out, what we're considering and trying to work through is actually relocating our whole finance group and our administration group that's currently in Pennsylvania. So anything from our financial controllers and all of those processes, along with another customer service group that we'll be adding, and then people on the material science things, because a lot of what we do is about material science. So, chemical engineers, those types of things. So it's quite of a hodgepodge of what we'll need, but we'll need a lot of help. So.
All right. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair?
Any other questions, Mr. Sadowski?
Is it Mr. Tizet?
Tisler.
Tisler? The question that I have, what is it that the company manufactures?
We manufacture tungsten carbide products. If you take a look at the tungsten carbide industry, Sarah Tizet is positioned now as the number 4 company in the world. That's who we are globally. We certainly have a U.S. presence, but we want to basically expand our U.S. presence. So when we get into tungsten carbide manufacturing, it's kind of 2 different directions you can go in. You can manufacture specialty tools. For instance, we're the leading tooling supplier for manufacturing of turbines, for jet engines, turbines for the power industry. That's a specific niche industry that we design specialty cutting tools to address it. We do the same thing with wind power in terms of axles for, the new windmill power generators that are out there. So we manufacture tooling that goes after those specific machining operations. We also, on the other side of the equation, would look at operations where we could apply tungsten carbide and its materials to a wear situation. So if you were in the petroleum industry and you were drilling for petroleum, drilling for natural gas, there's a lot of wear components that are happening in that process, where if you were to just use typical steel, the components would wear out during the operation, so that you apply the material properties of tungsten carbide to it so that you extend the life of any of those products by 5 to 10 times what they currently are. So it all becomes kind of an engineered solution approach to, with our material background.
Okay. And that's basically all part of diversifying our economy here in Warren, that we're not really just dealing strictly with automotive. We've got companies that we're bringing in now that deal in various industries, which is really is a plus in my mind. You have a facility right now in Warren?
We do.
Where is that facility located?
Stevens and Marmon.
Is it one of the addresses then here?
Yes,
and then
correct.
You're just buying the property then next to you? Then?
It's 2 doors down would be the other property, but yeah, the 11350 is our existing property. We've been there since about 1988.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other comments from
Madam
council
Chair?
members? Mr. Stevens?
Yes. I just wanted to say congratulations. Mr. Tisler, I know you're your time, last night I saw you at the Planning Commission meeting, and tonight here, and then tomorrow night you got the ZBA. You're moving full steam ahead. I'm very excited about this. It looks real good for you. Your building, you maintain it impeccably. Now, the old Guardian building, they maintain that pretty well. Of course, it's been vacant though, and so I would expect you're going to beyond the job creation and everything else, you're going to make that area look a lot
Absolutely.
better.
Yeah,
and if we could just find somebody to fill in with the old Warren Pipe building,
It'd be great.
we'll be hot. So, all right, congratulations.
Thank
Thank you.
Any other comments from council members? I just have one final comment. Are you bringing or facilitating any relocation of employees from Pennsylvania to Warren?
There's a conversation on the table with about 3, but in general, it's not the situation. You know, strangely enough, people really don't like to relocate. So it actually ends up being something you have to kind of overcome. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Liss.
thank you. This is a more appropriate question for the next agenda item, immediately next agenda item, but since you're here, I don't want to whipsaw you from the seats back here. So if you don't mind, you're asking for a brownfield approval for an obsolete building, and that's simply for the tax credit, potential for the tax credit.
That's correct.
My understanding is that MDEQ is getting very stingy with those. And and I don't know what the new budget's going to be with the state. Governor Snyder says he wants to pass it rather soon. But if MDEQ doesn't have the money, or if MDEQ denies the brownfield, will you continue with this project?
At this point, I can't commit to the project one way or another. All I can do is say this is a piece of our financial decision, our business decision, but we certainly hope we're going to be able to. But Mr. Barr might be able to handle the MEDQ or MEDC questions a little bit more than I am, because he's certainly in tune with it, and we feel pretty comfortable where we're at right now.
You feel pretty comfortable that MDEQ is going to improve this? Have you had discussions with MDEQ?
Yeah, Richard Barr. We've been working with the MEDC, and they have issued what's called an invitation letter.
Yes.
To submit the paperwork to seek the tax credit if the City Council approves the brownfield plan. So we're pretty confident at this point that they're going to stick by that. That was issued as recently as a week or 2 ago under the new policies that the governor has implemented. So we're pretty confident that it's going to work out.
Do you have any brownfield consultant that you're using?
There's a brownfield environmental consultant who's involved in the environmental issues, and there's also been a determination on the functionally obsolete status, which is really a building condition that is part of the brownfield plan package.
Are there any environmental issues involved? I noticed that you're not asking for any tax capture, but I'm wondering if there are any environmental issues.
There is phase 2 testing going on. Like with any industrial building of its age, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something that's been left over from past years.
Sure.
But we don't see anything that's going to be a major problem.
Have
Cross our fingers.
Have you done a phase 1, phase 2 environmental study?
Yeah, phase 1's been completed. Phase 2 is underway.
Okay.
And we hope within the next week or 2 to know what has to be done. There will be probably some minimal work that has to be done, but we don't think anything that will get in the way of the deal.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Sadowski?
My understanding is that, and again, this relates to the next item, that the brownfield, the way that you're asking for the particular brownfield, because you're not asking for any environmental money back, it's basically going to be a refund on taxes that you've paid in for those years, about 12%. And Nancy, maybe you might want to correct me on that. So it's not funds that are being built in, because yes, the state has said that they're not going to be giving the brownfield money anymore, but we're doing this in a different fashion.
That's correct. The applicants are not asking for brownfield funds through the City of Warren's Brownfield Authority, but what they will receive from the state, if the City Council approves the plan this evening and the state approves the plan as well, and they complete their project under the eligible activity section of the plan, they will receive 12.5% of reimbursement in Michigan business tax credits for the cost of those improvements.
Thank you.
Was that-
Any other comments from council members? Since we're on this line, I just have one last comment. You mentioned the fact of it being obsolete and some structural changes potentially. Did you investigate at all the Oprah tax eligibility?
We did look at Oprah as a possibility, as an alternative to the 198. It's pretty much a wash in terms of the value of a real property, 198, versus an Oprah. Value for taxable purposes of the property has come down with the market in recent years, and the company is comfortable that a 50% real property IFT would be satisfactory. It would not freeze the taxes to the city in the same way that an Oprah would.
Right.
So the city would continue to get some increased tax revenues, and the company is comfortable with that as part of the package.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments? Go ahead and call the question, Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Next item is number 12, a public hearing. Recommendation from the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority to approve a Brownfield redevelopment plan for Saratizit USA Incorporated, located at 11530 Stevens, Warren, Michigan, 48089, and consideration and adoption of a resolution approving the plan.
Item number 12 is a public hearing. Anyone care to comment on this agenda item may do so at this time. Seeing or hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and open this up for council action.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Green, support by Mr. Warner. Any additional discussion?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Green?
just real briefly, the brownfield plan that we're authorizing tonight or approving is strictly for state level tax credits, nothing at the municipal level, just for the residents to understand.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part
It
of the
doesn't affect
question.
anything at the municipal level, it's strictly state level tax credits.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, with that, I'll go ahead and call the question. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Item number 13 remained tabled on 12/14/2010. Appeal of determination of nuisance at 24439 Industrial, garage only, and consideration and adoption of a resolution.
Need a motion to remove from the table?
Motion to remove from the table?
Support.
Motion by Mr. Sadowski to remove from the table, support by Ms. Comartin. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The item's been removed from the table. Now I need a motion in support or deny of this item.
Motion to abate?
Motion by Mr. Sadowski to abate,
Support.
support by Mr. Green. Any discussion?
Discussion, Madam Chair?
Mr. Sadowski.
Okay. Is Mr. Wisnick here? Okay, we have a,
We got two. And the gentleman that owns the property is here.
yes. The reason why the item was, remained tabled were to sort of get the property owner the ability to, I guess, adjoin the properties. And what we're looking here is at a garage that was deemed a nuisance to be torn down. And the gentleman wished to build another garage in the meantime before the other one got taken down. But my understanding now with the procedures, when we spoke earlier, is that we have to deal with the nuisance first before we can deal with the new garage or the new structure, because there's a whole number of issues that need to happen, one of which, and first, needs to be the dismantling of this garage before the new one can be built. And I'll let our administration speak to that.
Good evening, Council. Dean James, Chief Building. What happened is there was a nuisance on a house, 2 garages, one with an addition. For us to remove the house and to combine the lots, all the structures must be removed from the property. There is a garage that is in fairly good shape that we would allow them to keep on that property if they combined. They did submit an application for combining the lots. It looks like everything was ready to go. Zoning had statements that the structures must be removed, some trailers, some fencing, and debris. That has not been done. So therefore, you cannot combine the lots. So we're kind of at a stalemate here. I'm not sure what they're thinking. We will allow them, if they combine the lots, they can keep one of the garages. The garage that's there now is in very bad condition. I have photos and everything else. I believe this is the owner of the property right over here.
If you want to put the photos up.
Sure.
I've seen them, but I've seen the property in November. I'm not sure if our crew needs to turn that on.
This is the property that we are looking at, this lot right here. There was a single-family residential home in the front of the property, which the owner has removed under permit. This garage with an addition, it's more of just a covered area that's falling apart, is what we would like removed, along with some trailers and stuff. This garage is the garage that we were going to allow them to keep if they combine the lots. But that hasn't been done because you have to remove.
No, I think Councilwoman Vogt is asking for the aerial again, the aerial shot.
Yes.
Where are the two lots? Is that what you're asking?
And so the back, point to the garage that is to stay.
Okay, this one here to the rear of the property,
And-
which is in fairly good shape.
And you need to combine the lots with the property on the left-hand side.
With this here,
Because our ordinance does not allow to have a standalone garage
correct.
on there. I see, okay. And we can't combine the lots until the pad is removed?
Yes,
And,
from the
and the one garage is taken down, or the shed?
Right, with the addition, which is falling apart. I have pictures that clear, it's just.
If you want to go ahead and put those up, too.
Did you have any other questions?
I still have the floor, I think she'll.
This is the front of the structure. I did pretty good sized blow-ups because I didn't know how that would look to you here. This is the structure, and this is the addition to that structure. Here's a side view of the walls, the roof's caving in. Hey, I'm really surprised it lasted through the winter. Another side, I do all four sides just so you have a real visual. This is part of the other garage that would remain if they combine the lots and it's all approved. The trailers need to go away. Have some fence line, again, another trailer. That zoning has required to be removed from the property before they can combine the lots. It's 5 items that zoning has come up with that need to be removed, and this can be a done deal. This is the slab of the original single-family dwelling. There's still tile and everything there. Actually, I had a possum come out on me today, so that tells me there's no rat walls or anything, and this slab cannot be used for any other structures in the future. I don't think we'd allow them to put a structure there if they wanted to do another garage, because apparently he wants to add another garage to the property, which will go to ZBA. Just another picture of the slab. And that's pretty much it to give you.
I'm done, Madam Chair.
Ms. Vogt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, just to be real clear,
Yes.
if we take down the one structure, the one garage,
Yes.
we're leaving one standing
Yes.
for now. And then the gentleman needs to combine the lots in order to keep that second garage, right?
Yes, ma'am. I believe he also wants to build another garage in there, which could be possible, but that'd have to be approved by ZBA and everything.
And that would have to be after,
After the combination, the
after
lots
the
are combined.
combination, and there needs to be a home
Yes, the home, they do have a home there. This was a,
that is a home there
this is the house here.
on the second lot.
Right here.
Okay,
And the other garage is there. So if they combined the lots, and this would all be cleared out with debris and stuff, and then they would have that garage. And if he wanted to build another, I think it could be feasible if they approved it. He's got good-sized property.
okay, and he can't combine the lots until this one
Right.
thing is gone.
Yeah, right. It's like a catch-22 here. There
All
was
right.
5 items from zoning. Remove the dilapidated buildings on the north property. Remove the debris on the north property. Wood planks, fencing, miscellaneous debris, fencing on the north side, 2 trailers on the north side, and weeds.
All right, so it
One-
sounds like if we abate this,
Yeah.
then we're getting the gentleman on a good start towards where he needs to be with combining the lots and moving forward.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other comments from council members? What raised a concern to me, and maybe I misunderstood it, ZBA has given an indication that even though one garage, if we were to abate this one, the dilapidated one, they
Right.
would allow the combining without the removal of that second garage? Because at one point I thought they said all buildings had to be removed.
Well, if they were going to combine the properties, then it would be one property, and you would be allowed to have a garage there. This garage is in pretty good shape. All the indications are there through assessing, engineering, planning, that, yes, we could combine these lots. Then you would be legal.
Okay.
Zoning has the 5 items they want to see removed, which, again, we're back to the nuisance. They did remove the house. They did obtain a permit. The foundations have not been removed. But under that permit, we would allow them to get rid of the shed. The verbiage should have said house and storage with addition. It did not. There was some issues there. I had to issue tickets and really don't want to go to there. This is where we're at today.
Okay.
The photos I took today are clearly this is a nuisance and it needs to go away. So with your approvals, we can either have them remove it or we'll remove it. They do have a permit.
And if my memory is serving correct, is this the only residential property on that street?
No, we have 1, 2, 3, I believe 5.
5 total?
Next month, we'll have the property to the north. There's an old garage there that's been there about 30 years. You can't even see it because of the trees.
Okay.
So that'll be coming up next.
All right, thank you. Sir, did you want to make a comment? I'd like to hear what you have to say about this.
I'm Vernon Pappas. I live at 24429 Industrial. The photo of the garage, showing the garage itself with the garage door and everything, that all is coming down. The photo showed the siding coming off. That happened last week. The company that I had hired to tear this down told me they're going to have it done by the 30th.
Okay, so you already got preparations to have
Yes.
this torn down?
Yes, once it's torn down, then I plan on having the lots combined.
Okay.
And then applying for a permit to build a new one on the existing foundation that is there.
The slab from the home or the foundation of
The current garage.
Okay.
If it can happen, if it can't, then I'll tear it out and then submit new plans for a new foundation.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you were up to date on, and that your opinions agreed with what was taking place.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Comartin?
I was under the impression, though, that I could keep the slab where the house is by doing all this
That would
from
not
another
be-
gentleman.
We could discuss that at a different
Okay.
time. It wouldn't
Okay.
be code. You need to have a rodent protection, and you got a possum this big for a living.
Yeah, it's the, I agree
That
with you
and the
100%.
location.
But what if it was it would be my place just to
Okay.
park my vehicle?
I'm sorry, I can't hear
Okay.
what's going on.
I think this is something we could discuss at the building department with some new permits if everything goes through.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and he has, if we were to vote on the abatement, he has 45 days to remove it? Or 60?
We'd work with that. We'd like to see it gone as soon as possible.
Sure.
We've been working on this since October of last year. It's been tabled twice for basically nothing, just lack of getting things done.
Right, I'm just asking, what's the standard amount? I'm drawing a blank. Is it 30 days,
Well,
45?
we usually put a date to it. We like to do 30 days.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Comartin?
Okay, well, my question was the timeline, so you did cover that just now. The other thing is, so he is going to incur the cost. City is not paying for any of the demolition. The gentleman has pulled his permit, and he is going to be doing the demolition himself, the abatement of the
That's
the
correct
garage.
at this time. He does have a
Okay.
permit open.
And then just if the building department can give him a very clear list of all the items that are on there specifically that we're abating tonight, to make it very clear to him.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Mr. Green?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, Mr. Pappas, we know this is not a very pleasant or very easy process, but we do appreciate when there is a situation that the resident does work with us, communicate with the members of the building department and with council on this is the plan of action. When we tabled it last time, and now you've come back and, you know, that plan is being executed. So we do appreciate that, and I'm sure the property maintenance department will work with you to make sure everything gets done.
Yes.
The other question I had was, for the variances, he is, one of the 5 variances you mentioned, one was to have a second garage? Because if he is going to build another garage, if the lots are combined and he has one garage already, and he wants to put another one up, get the variance now, so you can be in front of him. Is that one of the variances?
I'm not sure what your question was.
Well, if we're going through all this process and he's going in front of the ZBA,
Right.
and he's just stated he wants to put up a second garage, he might as well get the variance for that now, and as opposed to going back and paying another, whatever the fee is now for a variance.
Now, that may still come into effect because what we have, you're allowed to have 700 square foot of accessory structures. I don't know where he's at with the second garage. We could look real quick. But he would have to...
Looking at the picture, he's close enough.
Pardon?
Looking at the picture, it's got to be over 700 square feet.
Right, so therefore you would have to put another garage on that property, you'd have to go to zoning for
That's what I mean,
approvals.
but if you're already there,
I'm not sure if that's part of the combining a lot, if it's the same thing, I don't know.
I was just trying to make an ease of use
Yeah,
for him, since
yeah, I
he's
see
been
what you're
so
doing, yeah.
accommodating to us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead and call the question. Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Barkamino?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
I also wanted to say that I do appreciate the council giving me the time to take care of all this as well.
Very good.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Item number 14A, this was tabled on 12/14/2010. Consideration and adoption of a resolution adopting a revised permit and inspection fee schedule for the Division of Building Inspections.
Motion to remove from the table?
Motion by Mr. Green
Support.
to remove from the table, support by Mr. Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The item's been removed from the table.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Mr. Green,
Support.
support by Mr. Stevens. Discussion, Mr. Liss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Malzik, are you still here?
Good evening.
Hi. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Malzik, how are you?
Good.
Thank you for taking the time to review this fee schedule. I read through it again. Your memo says, or, excuse me, 2 memos from Mr. Wisnick, states that you've reviewed the proposed fees and determined that they do not exceed the costs incurred by the city. Begs the question, do they pay for the costs incurred by the city?
They do not.
They do not.
Right.
Do you have like a percentage
Yeah.
that they do not? I know there's a ton of different fees in here.
That's right. In the 2010 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, we didn't cover our costs by approximately $700,000.
$700,000?
That was before this fee increase. We're hoping the fee increase will increase our revenues by $240,000 approximately, so we'd still be approximately $500,000 under.
Wow. I'm going to vote to approve these bills, but I might bring back a resolution in the near future to adjust those fees, pay for their costs. I mean, I think that building, people who use the system should pay for the system. Residents who aren't building anything shouldn't have to subsidize that.
That's a good point.
Anyways, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any further
Madam Chair.
comments? Ms. Comartin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Mr. Melzick.
Hi.
Thank you for reviewing those figures earlier with me. The question that I have for you with our new budget, is this already implemented into our new budget, the savings?
Yes, the budget that was presented tonight by Mayor Fouts, it already includes this fee increase in.
Okay, and how much savings are you talking about with that implementation?
It would be an additional revenue of approximately $240,000.
Okay, so about 240. Okay. My issue is not so much of us gaining back our costs. My issue is the economy right now. And basically, I'm in the home market. I see what buyers are going through when we have all our vacant properties tagged with, unoccupied homes or slapped with stickers. They have to go through full inspections. The buyers that are having a hard time to get into an owner-occupied position in a home are paying all the fees. And they're having a hard enough time as it is to get mortgages and move into these homes. And the whole thing is we want to occupy our homes in the city. We want to get people to move into our communities. So my opinion is I do not want to discourage people from doing the proper repairs just because we're increasing the fees. So I have an issue with increasing the fees at this time. I know that we haven't raised them since 2006. You and I had covered that. I just feel everybody's being taxed enough right now. I mean, the communication that I hear from the residents is, enough is enough. So I can't see increasing these fees at this time. So thank you for your input. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any further comments from council
Chair.
members? Mr. Stevens?
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Melzick, I just want to make sure I got that right. The cost of administering all of these services is $700,000?
No. $700,000 was what we didn't recoup in 2010. So in other words, the total revenues in 2010 were $1.6 million.
Okay.
Okay? And the building department's expenses were 2.3. That's the delta, the $700,000.
All right, so that's where we're still coming up the $500,000 shy,
Correct.
even with this increase.
That's right.
Plan review, wow.
Otherwise, we would then be the 700,000
That's right.
shy. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further comments? Mr. Liss?
Yes, an additional comment, Madam Chair. Thank you for giving me the floor. Mr. Malzik, if you know, what was the reason that this fee schedule was set?
I don't have that answer. I guess we could ask Mr. Wisniak.
Is he here?
I believe he is.
Yeah, yes.
I know we did comparables to other communities as one point. We'll have to ask him on
I
that.
mean, I'm looking at some of these fee schedules, and for instance, electrical permit fees, the first circuit is $35. It's got a cost with the equipment, overhead, salary, insurance, and everything else that goes into sending one inspector out for, an average inspection might be 15 minutes, but it takes 15 minutes to get there, 15 minutes to go to the next inspection. You're talking like a half hour to an hour inspection in some instances. It's got to cost the city like $100 an hour. Anyways, I'm sorry, Mr. Wisniak, how are you?
Very good.
If you know, do you have any idea why this particular fee schedule was set instead of lower or higher?
Well, we talked to the inspectors, all the chiefs, and all their duties. Well, what happened was, we've had 2 code cycles. They're 3 years each. And during them cycles, the codes are changed, they're added. So it's taken our inspectors, more time to do these inspections. Things are getting a little more intricate. And we used to be able to get the inspections within 24 hours. We're backed up to about a week or more sometimes.
How many permits, trade permits are issued in a year, if you know?
Well, we have, let me see here. Well, we have hundreds.
Hundreds?
Our inspectors do an average of 15 or 20 inspections a day,
Oh, my.
each inspection, each
tight.
inspector.
All right, I will probably, I have heard Ms. Martin's comments. I think it's a safety issue, and someone who's using the service should be paying for it, but thank you for your time. Thank you for answering my questions.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Warner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to add to what Mr. List said, on the summary of the permit fee comparison, the new fees are pretty much in line with some of our neighboring communities, Madison Heights, Roseville, and Sterling Heights. So if we can recoup as much of the cost as we can to cover our increases, it's really not that much of a hindrance. So we have to keep in line with what our costs are. So I will be voting for this. Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. We try to keep this as reasonable as possible. Some of them were increased $2, some 5, some 10. So we try to keep it reasonable for everybody.
Thank you.
Any
Madam
other,
Chair?
Mr. Bacamino?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we are comparable, I'm looking at the surrounding communities. We're not over the surrounding communities. We're not discouraging people from coming to Warren because there's nowhere else to go that's actually much cheaper or much higher. We're just in line with the surrounding communities. I remember when the treasurer came up here with the bounce check fee or something, she used that example that where surrounding communities charge about $35, and so we use that as our base. If we didn't do this, though, we would lose $240,000 in revenue, Mr. Malzik?
Yes, that's exactly right. And then the budget that you guys will be going through these budget sessions over the next couple weeks. It'd be another $240,000.
Where would that $240,000 come from? The taxpayers, or just straight from the general fund, or wherever? I mean, if we don't have this,
Exactly, wherever you decide, but
we'd have,
without another action, it would come from the general fund, yes.
and so right now it would be comparable to surrounding communities, and it would be charged to the people that are using the services. Okay, I have no problem then, thank you.
Any other comments from council members? I just want to say that I honestly think that this is a double-edged sword. I mean, on one hand, it's quite an expense, and I agree with the points made by Mr. Liss, and the fact that those are actually using the system should pay for it. But on the same token, the $240,000 that we'd be able to recoup from this, if you counter that against how many more people can we get into vacant homes more easily or more readily, and bring those back to a taxable, viable, housing condition, and preserve our housing stock in our neighborhoods, is that $240,000 on a comparison really worth it to that aspect? Because I went through this myself in rehabbing a foreclosed home, and I got to tell you, some of them, although I realize that might be what's standard for around the community, changing a 3/4-inch PVC pipe for $600 was rather steep and difficult to incur.
Ms. Camp, with all due respect, when you look at the fee increases that we're asking for here, I don't know how many people will decide not to move in a home based upon an additional, let's say, $10 or $15. I know every case may be different, but when you use the $240,000, this is the amount of fees for everything we're going to be doing over the whole year. So, I mean, I just bring that point up. But thank you.
Well, like I said, I don't know that there's a right or wrong way to go on this. I mean, I think there's a couple different angles to consider. So, all right, with that, I'll go ahead and call the question. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
No.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
No.
Mr. Barcamino?
Yes.
Camp, no. The item passed 6-3.
Item 14B, this was tabled on 3/22/11. Consideration and adoption of a resolution correcting a previously approved resolution adopted on September 28, 2010, ITB-W-7738 for water meter and automatic meter reading system upon receipt of invoices.
Motion to remove from the table.
Motion by Mr. Green to remove.
Support to remove from the table?
Support by Ms. Comartin. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The item's been removed from the table. Need a motion and support on the item?
Motion to approve the discount with an amendment to correct the resolution that was originally established by council with a motion in regards to the award of the bid of RFPW 7738.
Okay, so I have a motion by, support by Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you. Just for brevity, are you just amending it to what they requested us change?
For clarification purposes, the last time this was tabled, and it wasn't supposed to be tabled for the discount rate of the 1.5. I don't, I'm glad that we're getting an additional 1.5. But what the issue was in our backup, the interoffice communication stated that with our bond issue, that the resolution shall state that this special revenue line shall be used to, 1, pay off water meter bond payments, and 2, to pay off infrastructure replacement.
Yes, okay.
Okay, well, our resolution that is attached to that does not have that stated in it.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Sadowski?
I thought we had clarified this on the phone a few weeks ago. We had two resolutions. One, the one that is included in our packet is the resolution to award the bid to the company. What you're speaking to, Ms. Comartin, appears on the second resolution, and that is listed in detail on there because that relates to the actual dollars and how the item was going to be recorded.
Funds to be used.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah. So
Mr. Sadowski?
we only included the one resolution in the backup because it related specifically to the item in the awarding of the contract.
Correct. When I talked to you on the phone, you said specifically that it was in the bond resolution, correct? That's what you told me on the phone, that it was in the bond resolution.
I could get you the resolution.
I pulled the bond resolution, and I met with the controller's office. It is not in the bond resolution at all.
Okay, because I read that right from the backup that we had.
Okay, the only correspondence that we had was our interoffice communication, and I've got the bond packet right here. Our interoffice communication is on there, but the resolution that was attached does not mention those two items in it at all. And I did stop over at the attorney's office, and they said that they would just have that language corrected, so the resolution that this council passed by our motion will reflect that.
What's the date that you have?
September 28th. And then that was the original bond council approval. And that was item 12A, which was in correspondence to
Because I believe
our
the amended,
interoffice communication.
the amended item was passed at a later date. You said the 28th?
Well, when they pulled the bond package out, it did not have anything in there, and there was no other resolution with it. So if you have another resolution, Mr. Sadowski, that is different than the two that I have here, that would be great. But when we approved the bonds, and I was under the understanding that it was when the bonds were approved, it is not in there. So all I just want to do is have it clarified.
Okay.
And I think everybody up here, the whole purpose of when we made our motion was to make sure that, one, it goes for the water meter bond payments, and two, that it went for infrastructure replacement, and that was the consensus of the whole council.
Okay, here we go. This is in October. I'll pull this. Okay. At our October meeting, this is October 12th, I have a resolution here that says, at the regular council meeting of City Council, City of Warren, County of Macomb, I'll skip right to the meat. On September 28th, the council office authorized a water meter replacement project and authorized the issuance of City of Warren Capital Improvement Bond Series 2010 to finance the approval of the project. On September 28th, the council voted to direct the city controller to present a resolution that upon completion of the water meter project, any excess funds due to interest or surplus bond proceeds shall be used for water system infrastructure or to pay down the bond debt. Therefore, be it resolved that upon the completion of the water meter project, any excess funds due to interest or surplus bond proceeds shall be used for water system infrastructure or to pay down the bond debt for the issuance of City of Warren Capital Improvement Bonds Series 2010. I will see to it that the city attorney's office has that completed and passed resolution to put in with the file.
Okay, so one, then it should be with the bond issue, so we have the proper resolution changed in there, because at the controller's office, it's the old resolution.
I'll make sure that gets
Just
over.
so there's no confusion in the future.
Yep, nope, I understand.
All right, thank you very much.
Any further comments from council members? I just have one quick question. Does anyone know, were any payments not made in time to receive the discount? Have we made any purchases that didn't qualify for the discount at this point? I see Mr. Polakowski is... Good evening.
Good evening, Tom Palkowski. All invoices from Neptune have been paid on time, and we took full advantage of the 1.5% discount. And our intent is to continue to do that.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we hadn't missed out on any.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being here. There's no other questions, so the amendment is no longer necessary on the motion?
I'll see to
Just
that.
for clarification.
I'll
Yeah,
have that.
that
I'll
it's
listen to it.
clarified and corrected. Thank you.
Go ahead and call the question, Ms. Comartin.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Barkamino?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Excuse me, point of information, please.
Yes, what can I help you with?
I would like to find out exactly how much money is involved here with these meters. What's the bond for it?
Do you have the bond total? Yeah, 9 million.
And when was it approved? Did you guys approve it at one time? When was-
September.
Back in
Yeah.
September. September 2010.
How much money was involved in it?
9 million.
What kind of meters are they?
Neptune.
Do they have to do with the grid?
No,
So they're not involved with the smart grid technology at all?
not currently.
None of this is? So the new meters that you guys are going to get is not the smart grid technology?
I'm
Is that what
sorry?
you're so the new meters you're getting are not the smart grid technology, the readable, the wand, correct?
I don't have the full details, and I gave you the point of order on that, but I can't go.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
are
they're
these
not
new
the
meters that
DTE
you're getting
meters.
in, is going to be the smart grid technology meters that we're talking about?
Not currently with DTE, no.
They're not
With anything, though? I mean, they're going to be wand read, correct? They're
They
the
are
wandable
remote
ones?
read.
Excuse me?
They are remote read.
So they're going to come down with the wand and read them?
No.
So-
Remote transmitters.
Oh, remote transmitters. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item 14C.
Consideration and adoption of an amendment to bond resolution dated June 27, 2006, for intent to issue City of Warren Capital Improvement Bonds, Series 2006.
Need a motion and support?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. List,
Support.
support by Mr. Sadowski. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Ms. Comartin?
Good evening, Mr. Shadig.
Good evening, Council. Todd Shadig, Acting City Engineer.
Could you just explain, this is with the 2006 bond series. Could you just explain what's, transpiring here?
The original bond issue from 2006 included a project for water main replacement on Ryan Road. The scope of the overall street project has changed on Ryan Road. It's not a widening and reconstruction anymore. It's simply a resurfacing project. We don't feel the need to do the water main replacement as part of that project anymore, and we are looking to concentrate on saving what's left of our water main system at this point, and I'd like to reallocate the money that was in that bond issue for that water main replacement for a new pressure reducing valve that we have out for bid at this time.
All right, and the cost for the pressure reducing valve in the 8 Mile area, do you have an estimate on that already?
We took bids on it Wednesday. Actually, it's $849,000.
Okay, so the total is $849 for that project? All right. The other question is the interest rate on the 2006 bonds that we have currently right now, that's how much?
I don't think I brought the fee schedule with me, Councilwoman. I couldn't tell you.
Okay, and then the balance, do you know what the current balance is on that series?
Again, I don't have that information with me this evening. I'd have to talk to Mr. Melchek and get that information for you.
Okay, was bond counsel consulted on this to find out if that change was allowable?
Yes, we had a meeting with Axe and Eklund about this exact issue, and they actually wrote the resolution for us.
Okay, so everything was approved from them, and it wasn't beneficial to pay off the balance with this one and deal with it with a different bond series or anything like that at a lower rate?
Well, just speaking very generally, I mean, to do a bond issue for $850,000 has certain costs associated with it, which I'm sure would exceed the interest rate that we've got on this money right now. It just seems to be a lot more efficient and prudent just to use the money that we have on deposit right now and spend it.
Okay. I think the project is very worthy. I know that I sat on the commission that we had when we put it together for the pressure reducing valves, and I know this is the very last one that's going to be implemented, and it's taken a long time. We don't have any other ones that we're looking at.
Well, this will be the last one on 8 Mile. We actually have, in the studies that have been completed, there's a recommendation to install 2 more on 14 Mile Road. We have currently 8 active feeds which funnel water into the city of Warren. This will protect the 4 major feeds that sit right adjacent to the high pressure line that Detroit uses to distribute water and protect us from that. But we still have another high pressure line in 14 Mile that's not at the same pressure as the 8 Mile line, but there are still some pressure surges from that line that we should protect ourselves from. In the next couple of years, I'm going to propose that we install the other 2 facilities, but they're not in this budget.
Okay, and then as far as the infrastructure that we're deleting, the underground infrastructure over in that area, there was no necessity to do that project. I know the paving of the road was done considerably, like 2006?
The road has not been paved yet. It is on the schedule for this, well, actually it's going to start in 2 weeks. Like I said, the original scoping for that in the bond issue was a 5-lane reconstruct. We were going to gut the old pavement, put a new 5-lane pavement in. We ran into a couple difficulties with that. One was procurement of the necessary easements for the road expansion. We had some pushback from business down there. We also had a drop off in traffic down there, which seemed to negate the need for the extra lane. And as such, we scoped that project back in order to have money for some other projects.
Okay, was the underground scanned or anything like that to see if when we are taking the road apart, if we needed to do the infrastructure at that time. So we're not just switching a project, and still need the work to be done underground when we're repaving.
Well, we haven't done any true scanning on the water main. We've done a little research on the history of the main, though. That particular pipe has been in the ground since 1963. There have been 39 water main breaks on it over the last 50 years, 40 years. But we have not had any water main breaks since the PRV has been installed at the end of that pipe, which is at 8 Mile and Ryan Road. It's been very stable since that point, so.
Okay, since we've had the pressure reducing valve there. I just, at this point, I just don't want to see it come back when you do start paving the road and then say, oh, now we need all the piping to be done underground, and here we switched it to a new project, and then it's just going to come out anyway somewhere else.
Well,
So-
certainly that pipe's not getting any younger underneath Ryan.
Right.
But I think the benefit of this new PRV facility impacts a greater area in the city. It's something that protects our whole infrastructure, not just the cost to replace that 1 mile of pipe. I think we've got long-term benefit here we have to look at. So that's why that's my recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Stevens?
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Shadid. Mr. Shadid, what would the estimated cost of what kind of pipe are we talking, main? Are we talking?
That would be cast iron.
Okay, and for that 1 mile length, what would be the cost of replacing?
The budget number we use for a mile is now currently $1 million.
$1 million. And so the idea is, rather than replace the cast iron pipe, is to be able to control the pressure coming into the city so that we can reduce the main breaks that way.
Correct.
Okay.
Citywide.
And that number would be 849,000.
Correct.
For the whole distribution area.
Right. Right. That's
Okay.
correct.
So it's less money right up front, and you expect it to be able to do the same thing as, reduce the number of breaks and still provide service to the residents. It's going to accomplish the same thing.
That's correct. It helps us extend the longevity of our aging infrastructure by reducing the pressure surges that we see in the summertime from Detroit.
Okay, and so I agree with the strategy. I have one concern, though, is we've done two. How much is it going to cost us? Because the bid came in at $849,000. How much is it going to really cost us?
For the complete project? Well, we've done 3.
Right.
And we had a substantial cost overrun on 2 of those 3.
That's why I'm asking this question.
That's correct. Since that time, we have excavated the area where this PRV is going to be installed. We've done a lot of, I think, due diligence over and above what we did last time. And we've built in some assurances to the contract that some of these extra costs won't be back to bite us in the you-know-what.
Right.
I really expect this project to come in at budget.
Okay, so what happens if we get the wrong valve? The valve doesn't make the transition from one to the other. Wasn't that the case on one?
We had problems with pipe material at the last one, you're correct. Like I said, we've excavated
Right.
and looked at the pipe that's in the ground. We've measured it already. We know what's down there, so again, that shouldn't be an issue.
All right, if you're confident, I'm confident. Thank you.
Any further comments from council members?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Mr. Liss?
Mr. Shadid, can you do me a favor and turn that light on?
Which light? This one?
Overhead, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, you done? Yes. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and call the question. Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Buckner?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Next item is 14D, consideration and adoption of a resolution to adopt amendment to the 2008, 2009, 2009, 2010 City of Warren Housing and Community Development Action Plan, CDBG budget.
Need a motion and support.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Mr. List, support by Mr. Green. Any discussion? Just for people in the audience and watching at home, this is just a finance change in the fact that we're just funding a paving contingency to fix some drainage problems on Waltham and Weller, a previous project that we had approved without taking away from any funded services. This was left in the contingency fund of the CDBG money. So with that, I will call the question. Mr. List?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Madam Chair, could we take a short recess?
Sure, I have a request for recess, so council will go into recess for about 10 minutes. This time? Okay, we'll go ahead and resume the agenda item 14E.
14E. Madam Chair, Todd Shadid has actually requested that we table 14E. There's additional information that that he wants to get to us in order for us to make a better decision, so I make a motion that we just table the item.
Support.
Motion to table by Mr. Sadowski, support by Mr. Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The item has been tabled.
And that will be tabled till the next meeting. He needed it specific to the end of April.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Item 14F, consideration and adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor and the clerk to execute a contract with Mondo Construction Incorporated for city project PR-11-536 Owen Jack Activity Center Door and Trash Enclosure Replacement, Wiegand Park Steel Door Replacement, and award of bid in the amount of $27,896.
Need a motion and support?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr.
Support.
Stevens, support by Mr. Green. Any discussion? Mr. Shadid, just quickly, my only concern is the fact that Mondo being the only bidder, but yet I mean, it states that in the cover letter, but I didn't see, do we know how many people were notified on this?
I went out on Mitten. I believe there was approximately 42 people that received the notices that would qualify to do this kind of work. I can't get you that exact number, but it was substantially shopped out there.
Oh, and I see that their pricing came in below what we thought the estimate for the project would be, which is a good thing. I just was concerned in that fact. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and call the question. Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Barkamino?
Yes.
Mr. List?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Consideration and adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor and the clerk to execute the necessary documents to sell and convey to Michael McCavana and Brenda McCavana for the sum of $55,000 in the amount of the appraisal obtained by their mortgage company, but no lower than minimum price of $50,000 plus closing costs for property described as Lot 347 of Piper's 3rd Van Dyke Farms subdivision, 8269 Chalmers, parcel ID number 13-34-159-032.
Need a motion and support?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Green, support by Mr. Warner. Any discussion? I know this has been stated before, at least by Mr. Stevens, if not other council members as well. I really am not comfortable with our listing of our minimum pricing on this, but for some reason that continues. I don't know how else to get around that. Any other comments from council members?
I think, Madam
Madam Chair.
Ms. Vogt?
I think the reason we put that little flexibility in there is because when we set the price, if the appraisal doesn't come in by 1,000 or 2,000, then we have to start the process all over again. So we, Ms. Furlong, oh, she is here. Okay. In discussions with Ms. Furlong, we said would put that in there because it helps with the sale.
Right. Good evening, Ms. Furlong.
Good evening, Rosemary Furlong, Community Development Department. It's only, the sales price is set at the higher number unless the bank's appraisal comes in lower, and then as Ms. Vogt said, we would have to come back to your body and restart the process. And so this way, if it's just a little bit lower, then we have the flexibility to proceed. So the buyer can't decide that they want to pay the lower price. It's only if their bank's appraisal comes in lower.
Okay, I guess what the concern is, and I understand that purpose for your end of the deal, is that at what stage of the appraisal is the mortgage company at? Have they begun anything, or are they, obviously this is public record, you know, is there a possibility of that impacting the amount of the appraisal they're willing to give?
No, the mortgage companies, the appraisers aren't impacted by this knowledge, and the mortgage company won't begin their appraisal or their process until there's a signed purchase agreement, which there won't be until council takes action.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Comartin?
Thank you. Just a tidbit of information, too, in the last recent sales that we've had a little bit of increase, a little more competition out there on some houses. So I have seen a slight bit of increase in some of the appraisals that are going on in some areas. So it's nice to see, you know, at least a little competitive bidding on some houses. And the nicer the house is, it seems like, you know, the more people are interested. Had an opportunity to go to the one in on Blackmar, and my people thought it was very, very nice. So it does make an impression when you're going through several houses on the market, and then you see one that's move-in condition. They kind of, you know, draw to it. So it's great to see that too. It's sad that we are taking a bath between the, you know, the building and the, you know, modifications because of the costs involved, but it is nice to get the buyers in and keep the program moving. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council members?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Stevens?
Very quickly, as you all know, I've been against this in the process, and I'll simply state that there's a reason why the Open Meetings Act allows to go into closed session for the sale of property when it, you know, is incurred or is going to take place by a municipality. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Any other comments from council members? Go ahead and call the question. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
No.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bakamiano?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed 8-1.
Item 14H, consideration and adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor and the clerk to execute the necessary documents to sell and convey to Kang Yang and Tong Her for the sum of $28,000 or the amount of the appraisal obtained by their mortgage company, but no lower than the minimum price of $23,000 plus closing costs for the property described as Lot 30 of Dana Manor subdivision 22524 IRA, parcel ID number 128-005.
Just a correction, it's lot 130.
I'm sorry,
That's
130.
right. I need a motion and support on 14H.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Green, support by Mr. Liss. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, I'll call the question. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
No.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Bakamiano?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed 8-1.
Item 14J, consider...
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I checked off my I before I got to it. Consideration and adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor and the clerk to execute the necessary documents to sell and convey to Michelle Marie Coleman for the sum of $65,000 or the amount of the appraisal obtained by her mortgage company, but no lower than the minimum price of $60,000 plus closing cost of the property described as Lot 59 of Agnes Shell Subdivision, 24450 Blackmar, parcel ID number 13-29-277-004.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Liss, support by Mr. Green. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Comartin?
just glad to see that this is at full market price, and this is the house that I've gone through, so.
Mr. Green?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would agree with what Councilman Stevens said. However, the price we're basing this on is a current appraisal, and while we saw fluctuation the wrong way for several years, it's now hopefully stable. So the appraisals we have, we're making the offerings at that price. Thank you.
Any other comments? Go ahead and call the question. Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bakamiano?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes, because it's at market value.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
14J, consideration and adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement between the Macomb County Department of Roads and the City of Warren for traffic signal modification necessary to the Chicago Road resurfacing project from Mound Road to Van Dyke, and to provide a deposit in the amount of $12,732 for the required services prior to work being performed.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Liss.
Support.
Support by Mr. Green. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Ms. Comartin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Mr. Shadig.
Good evening.
I stopped by your department earlier today and was just trying to find out, a resident was concerned, I know that we're doing the paving of the Chicago Road area. We did deal with the sidewalks in the other area that we did west of Van Dyke. Their concern is we've got a section of sidewalk that is not there. And it's close to 6351, I think is the address in that area right there. And it is right next door to the fire department. So they wanted to see if we can't get that sidewalk. They use some handicapped motorized vehicles to go down, and what they had to do is go off the property because there's mud right there and a big hole. So they had to go on 13 Mile to come back around and pick up the sidewalk again. I think that is private ownership on that. I don't know if that's something that is being dealt with this project or not, or if it's something we can deal with, because it is a very short span?
Yeah, I'm aware of the section that you're asking about there, and I did speak with the resident earlier this evening about the same issue.
Okay.
The question, two things. It's not included in the scope of the project because it's a resurfacing project and it's not a sidewalk project. And secondly, it is private ownership on that parcel, so normally what we would do in the city is we would special assess the parcel for the work that needs to be done. We certainly can go out there and write that up for a special assessment, and this body would have a chance to approve that later on this year with our citywide sidewalk program. But the property owner does have a chance to dispute that assessment, both with the Tree and Sidewalk Board and with you here if he or she decides to do so. So, I mean, I'll gladly add it to the
Yeah.
list.
I know, just by looking at that whole area, everybody has a sidewalk except that one. And I understand there's a couple vacant lots with it. I don't know if the ownership is all the same or not, but, if we could just take a look at it for the citizens' concerns and see what happens from that point, but
Yes.
appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Timeline for traffic, I understand, are you getting a lot of calls on this right now? And
Well, people are mainly concerned that 14 Mile is under construction, obviously. The posted detour, though, is 15 Mile Road for 14 Mile.
Right.
We've not encouraged anybody to use this, but people will find their way around, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Timeline is this, what is today, the 12th? April 15th, whatever Friday is, the traffic shift will start.
Yeah.
And that will remain in effect in one way, shape, or form until the end of June.
Okay, I know that we're also dealing with the traffic, the traffic signals in that area too. Is there anything that we're doing with General Motors not to have them use the exits on that particular side? Or was there any discussion with them, or is that impossible with their workforce?
Their main entrance is just west of this project limit. So if you come into General Motors every day, you'll still be able to get in unimpeded through their gate on the north side. They are going to shift their truck deliveries to a different gate because they have substantial amount of deliveries that come in through there. With the limited lane space that we're going to have, the trucks probably won't be able to make that turn, but they are accommodating us in that respect.
Okay, good. I noticed that the traffic was really heavy this afternoon in that section too, just, and it was really hard from coming out in that area. So, all right, that sounds good. Thank you very much.
Madam
Any
Chair.
other comments, Ms. Vogt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Mr. Shadid.
Good evening.
Exactly what's going to be done with the traffic signals?
We need to move them for the different staging of the traffic control. So the beginning phases, we will take the 2 lanes that run westbound through that area and close them and repair them and shift traffic onto what are the 2 eastbound lanes, but it'll be bidirectional. So they need to take the signals and slide them over, so that they line up with the realigned traffic. And they
Okay.
need to do this at 3 locations.
All right, and you will continue to have both east and westbound traffic at all times?
Across the north side of the tech center, yes. Through the village, there's not room to provide that. So from Mound down to where that 2-lane road intersects with Chicago and Chicago at 13, that funky place there,
Yeah.
that will be one-way only from Mound towards the tech center. And it'll stay in effect during the whole duration of the project.
Okay, so it will only be east or southeast
Correct.
from Mound? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from council members? Go ahead and call the question, Mr. Liss.
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin? Yes. Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Item K, consideration and adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a contract with S&A Construction Incorporated for city project W-11-537, 2011 Water Division Concrete Manhole and Sod Repair, and award of bid in the amount of $503,355.
Need a motion and support?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mr. Sadowski,
Support.
support by Mr. Warner. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Mr. Liss.
Mr. Shadid.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
The funding for this project is coming out of the water fund?
Correct?
And how many, I can't find the document right away. How many manhole covers are we replacing?
Well, it's not just manhole covers. This is all the area repairs after we fix a water main break. So it may include sidewalk, driveway, street, and sod. There's approximately 433 locations awaiting repair right now.
I was always under the impression if you have a water main break in between lines, I mean, you don't have to replace the manhole cover.
Well, sometimes it breaks near a structure.
Okay.
There might be a sanitary manhole next to where it broke. There might be a catch basin. There might be a gate well. Sometimes those require replacement.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Warner?
Madam Chair, thank you. Mr. Shadig, engineer's estimate was $556,000. This has come in almost $50,000 cheaper. What is the scope of difficulty as compared to previous years?
It's the same project we've been bidding probably for 10 years. It's the same work scope in that they have to completely repair a certain number of sections of the city before they move on and do another 6 square miles. So it's set up in 6 square mile increments. The scope is like I alluded to with Councilman Liss. It's concrete work, it's sod work, and it's driveway and sidewalk work. So.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Comartin?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Shadig. Just a question on S&A Concrete Construction. Have we done other projects from them? And you know, I see some familiar names in the list, and they were higher as far as the bid contract goes, but have we dealt with S&A Concrete before?
We have not had S&A per se in the city before. They have another name that has worked in the city. They've worked for Hazel Park, Oak Park, and Troy, and they've had contract extensions in all of those cities in one way, shape, or form over the last 5 or 6 years. We did a pretty extensive background check on them, and we feel comfortable recommending them. They also are a warm business with their yard over
great.
on Glody.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much.
Any
Thank
other
you.
comments from council members? Go ahead and call the question. Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Buckman?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Item L, tabulation of bids and recommendation in-ray lawn maintenance and weed mowing services for the Property Maintenance Division, bid ITB-W-8349, and consideration and adoption of a resolution accepting the split bids of JR Services Group LLC and Green Meadows Lawnscape INC for a one-year period at the prices summarized in the bid tabulation sheets in the estimated annual grand total amount of $223,340.44.
Need a motion and support?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mr. Sadowski,
Support.
support by Mr. Stevens. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Ms. Comartin?
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Pellicek.
Good evening.
Council. Greg Pellicet.
Good evening. Question for you in regards to having we're kind of recouping some of the money through some of the programs that we have available. Do you know what the dollar amount that's being compensated for our fees, what we're charging for the grass mowing?
Basically, we're charging the fee plus administrative fee of $50.
$50,
Right.
okay.
plus 25% of the cost of the fee.
All right, are you actually recouping some of the costs for the actual cutting and
yes.
debris removal then too?
Correct.
All
We're
right,
recouping-
are we doing a good job in recouping those funds back?
Correct. Yes, we are.
Okay, do you have any idea what we recouped totally
Basically,
last
right now,
year?
I think we're in about $30,000-$40,000 range.
30,
And-
40?
And basically what happens, and also when we don't recoup the money, the bills are forwarded to the county, and the county reimburses us 100%. So,
Okay,
and we billed out, I believe, about $300,000 last year.
300,000 billing last year?
Correct.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you very much.
Any other comments?
Madam Chair.
Ms. Vogt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Mr. Palachek.
Good evening, ma'am.
The mowing of city-owned properties, any of these been done by our employees up to this point?
No.
Okay, so this
No.
has always
We don't-
been,
Basically, we don't have no employees to do that. I think years ago, the DPW was doing it, but basically they farm out all their lawn maintenance services also right now, so,
okay, thank you.
okay.
Any other comments from council members? Seeing or hearing none, I'll call the question. Mr. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt.
Yes.
Mr. Warner? Yes. Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Item number N, consideration and adoption of a resolution in support.
Did you say M or N? I'm sorry.
M, as in Mike. Consideration and adoption of a resolution in support of the Macomb Area Community for Regional Opportunity Task Force.
Need a motion and support?
Motion to approve?
Support. Motion by Mr. Sadowski, support by Ms. Comartin. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Mr. Liss?
Thank you for the floor, Madam Chair. I'm wondering if anybody knows if there is a membership fee for macro, and I see Mr. Hartley coming in. Mr. Hartley, would you come forward, please? We're on item 14M, resolution in support of macro. My question is, do you know if there's a membership fee to macro?
No, there isn't. It's merely a resolution for the organization itself, not to my knowledge.
Thank you. No further questions, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Comartin?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Hartley.
Good evening.
On some of the committee meetings that you're going to be having, it says that you're going to be keeping us informed and updating us on the communication and some of the collaboration that's going to be taking part. Have you had any meetings so far?
Yes, we did. We had a meeting on St. Clair Shores, or excuse me, Sterling Heights, about 2 months ago. And there's been, I believe, 2 since, where more communities have come forward and wanted to be part of it. Basically, I think it's a majority of many of the Macomb County communities that are involved.
Okay, and are you, since you had a meeting 2 months ago, are we going to get an email, or are you just going to, I mean, I haven't heard anything about this. This is, the first time it coming before us tonight.
Actually, the resolution that's before you is pretty much the only byproduct that's come from the meetings.
Okay.
I believe it's part of your packet. Sterling Heights and Clinton Township's councils have already chimed in, and
Right.
that's indeed what you're being asked to do. They want everyone to be resolved that indeed we want to go forward with a conversation with all the other communities, and that's pretty much as far as it's gone. There is a menu of items that we've discussed, areas of potential collaboration, but there's such a diverse array of communities that are involved that obviously we have to pick what's the best fit in different areas.
Okay, all right. I'll look forward to seeing that information.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council members? Mr. Hartley, just real quick, I'm out of curiosity, why not assign Commissioner McAdams as well?
Sounds good to me. They called for 2 people. Because police, one of the major leanings for the group has been to discuss dispatch possibilities. And Captain Hendrickson has been involved since the beginning as kind of the police liaison. And so it was basically someone from the administration and someone from police, but the more the merrier. I think they just want to have 2 point people. Commissioner McAdams has always been a part of every conversation that I've had with other communities, and will always continue to be. I think it's just a formality, but he certainly has my support as far as his interaction with the community.
Well, I know that there's, you know, he's probably pretty limited too. There was some other regional, specific to fire, that we were having difficulty attending and being a part of due to the manpower issues and that. So I don't know that it'd be feasible, but I just thought dispatch does affect his department as well.
Absolutely.
So I would like to be certain that he's able to give input and be advised of what's going on there.
Absolutely. As far as I'm concerned, he absolutely is, his input has been very valuable so far. You may or may not know that we had tried to become part of the collaboration that East Point, St. Clair Shores, and Roseville did indeed create. The bad news is that the money that was earmarked by Congressman Levin, as Congressman Levin himself has said, that the earmarks have pretty much gone away, and they did use $1 million in federal money to help build that infrastructure.
Right.
So that opportunity was a perfect fit at the time, and it would have been nice if we could have been a part of it, but we probably have a better fit with some of the communities that we're talking with now. And there's technological issues, there's obviously contractual issues, and we've got to go through all of those different areas. Commissioner McAdams specifically was helpful in, at least in my conversations, with trying to figure out what technology the city of Warren has that's kind of special, and so he will continue to be. And as you correctly identified, fire is it's kind of the orphan child of dispatch, given that police is always primary in dispatch matters, but it's still just as important, and we in Warren still need to examine the procedures that we have in place so that we can get priority dispatching and some of these things in place. So we're having all those conversations as we speak.
Very good. Thank you very much. If there's no other comments, I'll call the question.
Madam Chair, one quick question.
Mr. Liss.
Mr. Hartley, do you know if Macro has bylaws?
I don't believe it does, Mr. Liss, as of right now, because it's pretty much in its infancy. One of the things that we discussed, and I don't know that we won't have bylaws, it's just that one thing we did deliberately avoid was the conversation of, okay, let's start with a study. We've been through a million studies, every community has. We always welcome input. We've invited SEMCOG, for instance, to immediately jump on board and lend their expertise. As far as the legal aspects of forming the group, I don't know how formalized it's going to become to need bylaws. I think it's more of a community collaborative that's going to just see what we can put together. And I think the resolution is as far as it's going to go, at least at this phase. But I could be wrong. It may end up becoming something that's much more permanent than that. I don't even think that we're precluding other communities from maybe part of Oakland County from being involved as well. We really want to open the doors to anybody, that, as far as I know. So to my knowledge, there hasn't been discussions of bylaws, but any agreements that will happen on a probably more of an individual basis as opposed to as the whole body. So I think that the purpose of the resolution and the purpose of the organization and the acronym is merely to identify that this group of communities that are identified as Macomb County collaborative communities indeed have the intention of moving forward with these conversations. So,
thank you.
But I'll find out and I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Any further comments from council members? Go ahead and call the question. Mr. Sadowski.
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Item N, notice of appointment and request to confirm the appointment of said Rob to the Planning Commission for a term of office to expire June 30th, 2013.
Need a
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Stevens, support by Mr. Warner. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Mr. List.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Rob is in the back, if he could just stand up. I just want to recommend Mr. Rob. He's a gentleman, he's intelligent, he's thorough. He also paid a great compliment to my wife and myself by introducing us to the Bangladeshi community. Thank you very much.
Any other comments from council members? Seeing or hearing none, I'll call the question. Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
No.
Mr. List?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed, 8-1. Congratulations.
Item O, request for appointment of one city council representative to participate in the review panel for statement of qualifications/bid, property and casualty insurance.
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Councilman Green.
Support.
Mr. Green, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Any other nominations? Seeing or hearing none, we have a nomination of Mr. Green with support. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Mr. Green has been appointed.
Item P, consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 2 entitled Administration, Article 3 of Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Warren relating to filing fee refunds in elections for council wards, first reading.
Need a motion and support? Item dies due to lack of support.
Next item is item Q, which was 4C on the consent agenda. James M. Biernat, City Attorney, in Ray Arthur Andrew Garton versus the City of Warren, and request for a closed session in accordance with provision of Section 8E of Act Number 267 of 1976.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes, Madam Chair, just motion to approve it but for discussion. The reason I pulled this off the consent agenda is I noticed the name Mr. Arthur Andrew Garton.
I'll support
Sorry,
that.
1 second. I got
Yep.
your motion, and then I'm sorry, support was by Mr. Stevens?
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And when I noticed the name Garton today, I wondered if that's the partner of council member up here. And do we need to have a disclosure or to vote on this? Or do we need to excuse the council member who might be a partner with this person suing the city? I guess through the chair to
You're
the city.
looking for me to excuse myself? Is that what you're
No,
looking?
I'm asking through the chair to the city attorney, if anybody has, if this is someone's law partner, can they vote on this issue if they're suing us to go to closed session? Just as previously we had a council member excuse herself for a check, because this is a lawsuit against the city and someone may be a partner, are we following correct procedures by approving this on the consent agenda? Or if we pull it off, would that person have to excuse themselves or disclose at least that they are the partner?
Well,
Judge Biernat?
the lawsuit itself seeks...
Microphone, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Microphone, sir.
By way of background, the lawsuit seeks recovery of cost, attorney fees, and punitive damages. So there is a monetary claim made against the city. That clarifies things.
I mean, is the partner of this person allowed to vote on this issue then? Or would they be required to excuse themselves because there's monetary punitive damages that could be rewarded?
Well, perhaps it would be prudent to allow Ms. Vogt to make a decision first before I'm asked to render a decision.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Vogt?
if Mr. Bacamino is finished.
I yield for now.
Thank you. All we're doing, we're not even setting a date. All we're doing is saying, if the issue arises and a time comes to bring it before city council, then we would hold a closed session. There's nothing monetary about this. It's just giving the city attorney the authority, as we do in every single lawsuit, and this one is about information, as you well know. So am I gaining something from this, setting a date? There's no money at all. All we're doing is saying the city attorney may, at some point in the future, set a date for a closed session. That's all. So since I don't have a monetary interest or pecuniary interest in setting a date, I mean, to ask me to recuse myself in allowing the city attorney to call a closed session, I don't know. I don't see
Madam
where
Chair,
I
can I
have
clarify
anything to
then?
gain or lose.
Ms. Vogt might
I
maybe...
don't believe, I don't believe Ms. Vogt could participate in that closed session.
That's where I was going with this, is if we set a
But we're
closed
not
session...
there. We're not
No,
there.
and that's true, but I think that my opinion would be the two are so intertwined that the better part of,
Then, Madam Chair, I would ask that council allow me to abstain from voting on this issue.
That's all, thank you.
thank you.
Okay. And who would like to?
I make a
Motion to have council vote abstain.
I will support that motion.
Motion by Ms. Comartin, support by Mr. Stevens to have Ms. Vogt abstain from setting a closed session. Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Barkamino?
Yes.
Camp? Yes. The item passed 8-0.
Motion to,
I already have a motion to approve what was 4C and is now 14Q by Mr. Barkamino, and a support by Mr. Stevens. Was there any further discussion?
Nope.
That'll call the question. Mr. Barkamino?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
yes.
Mr. Liss?
No.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The item passed 7-1.
Item 15A, this item was tabled on 3/22/11, consideration and adoption of a resolution recognizing Cantata Academy Chorale as a Michigan nonprofit organization operating within the city of Warren.
Motion to remove from the table.
Support.
Support. Motion by
Discussion?
Ms. Vogt, support by Mr. Stevens to remove from the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The item's been removed from the table. Now I need a motion in support of the item.
Motion to approve the item.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Vogt, support by Mr. Liss. Discussion, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you. I believe you are the petitioner, and I was the one that had some questions with this, and I think I stated at the time, it wasn't maybe 3 days before this, I happened to have a conversation with the Commissioner of Lottery, Scott Bowen, and this was, part of the discussion was the fact that they only have 5 people to do the inspections. There's been some abuse of the process. In fact, you know, the time period is now, as far as getting these permits, has gone out, you know, a lot farther. They've suspended different aspects. And when I saw 248 numbers, Ferndale post office boxes, and everything else, of course, the flags went up, and that's why, or it was Royal Oak post office boxes.
Royal Oak.
And only a 9-month lease. The red flags went up, and that's why I questioned it, and that's where we're at. So, could you expound upon your, number one, I guess, your 9-month lease?
Yes. I'm Lisa Smith, and I'm a singer in the Cantata Academy Chorale, and I've also been on their board since about 1995. I've been singing with them since about 1994. The group, actually last night after I saw the minutes of the March 22 meeting and saw that, the concern that had been raised, and certainly saw why, based on the limited information you had, you would have those questions. I put together just very quickly yesterday some materials that I brought today to help provide some additional background information about us, and specifically about the location issue. The group, since I'm only since 1994, I know that from sometime in the 1980s until February of 2008, we were based at one place, Ferndale, in Ferndale. We were based out of Drayton Avenue Presbyterian Church, which was 2441 Pinecrest Avenue in Ferndale. A problem developed. That particular facility has a church office, which is always locked when we have our rehearsals Sunday night, and that facility has mail only delivered to the church office. And there were a number of other arts organizations that rented space at that facility. In about 2005, I think it was, we were having so much trouble getting our mail delivered promptly to us that we just decided it would be simpler if we just got a bulk mail. Well, we already had a bulk mail permit, and we're using the Royal Oak Post Office for our bulk mailings that we send out as a nonprofit. So we thought it would just be simplest to get a post office box at that same main post office at Royal Oak, and that way we'd ensure that we always got our mail and it didn't get mixed in with other groups or sent to the wrong place at the church. Then in February of 2008, we left Drayton Avenue Presbyterian Church, where we had our rehearsals and where we had our physical office and our music library. And I was there the day with the U-Haul truck. We moved in over where? Across the soccer field here and across the run to First United Methodist Church of Warren. And we've moved in there and have been there ever since. So both at Drayton, we had a series of written leases. They were usually for the calendar year. And I provided in the supplemental information that I passed out today some of those leases going back to about 2005, which also show the P.O. Box issue. And then since February 15, 2008, we've had a series of leases at First United Methodist Church here in Warren. And they've usually been for the calendar year, although sometimes they've been for shorter periods. The shortest one, I think, was the 9-month lease that we have currently. We're planning to renew that lease for another year. Our fiscal year for our group runs from July 1 through June 30, and so we wanted to try to get our physical space lease on a similar kind of year with that as well. So we also recently, well, in July of 2010, we got a new conductor, and so back however many months ago that was, 8 months or so ago, we weren't sure, based on our new conductor and where she was from, or he was from, where they might draw new singers from, if Warren would be a good location for them or not. And we're very happy to say that our new conductor we've had since last year is Susan Catanese, who came out of Chippewa Valley School District, who's been Outstanding High School Educator of the Year 2007 in Macomb County. She's a Clinton Township resident. She draws from people in this community and in Macomb. She has very tight ties also with Dr. Stuart Scott, who is a composer at and a professor at Macomb County Community College. And we also have ties with Dr. Gregory Cunningham, who is the Warren Symphony Orchestra conductor. We in the past had past ties with Dr. David Daniels, who was their prior conductor, and we've performed with them. So we feel very strongly that we want to stay in this community. We're drawing both audience, donors, and new singers from this area as well. While our concerts really are across the metro Detroit area, we do have, all our rehearsals are here in Warren. Our office is here in Warren. The music library that we've amassed since 1961, that I moved that day, is here in Warren. So I tried to provide this additional information to show you the leases and to show you that we have, in fact, we do have a presence there. We don't just get our mail there, or we don't just use that as like some kind of legal address. We're actually there if you come on Sunday nights at 6:30 during the academic school year. We're there and you can hear us sing, and our next concert is June 5th. So we really do exist, and we really do want to stay active in the community and keep drawing on that base of singers, audience, and patrons.
Well, I thank you for putting my concerns to rest, and if somebody wanted to find out about a performance, how would they do that?
www.cantataacademy.org. You can buy tickets online and donate online as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments from council members? Seeing or hearing none, I'll call the question. Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Buckman?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously. Good luck. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Item 15B, request of Shamrock Cab Company Incorporated for an increase in taxi meter rates as follows. Flag throw, $3 per mile, $2.50 per mile, and $36 per hour for waiting traffic delay time.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Mr. List, support by Mr. Green. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Green?
Go ahead, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The taxi subcommittee met earlier this evening. Mr. Finazzo was nice enough to be there. They're increasing their per mile rate from, what is it now?
$2.30 per mile
To $2.50.
to $2.50.
And to cover the cost of, I think everybody's noticed gas has gone up
Yeah.
just a wee bit. And when was the last time that you increased your per mile rate?
It's been about 2.5 years. We came to the conclusion we needed to raise our rates in January when gas was right around $3 a gallon, and I'm hoping it doesn't go much past $4. I might be forced to come back here in the next couple months. I hope that doesn't happen. I try to, over the last 30 years since I purchased the company in 1982, I try to come here as little as possible and try to make the damage to the community, because 20 cents is a lot of money when you're talking about 10, 15 miles. It adds up. Try to do it in small increments and as seldom as possible. Our average rider goes about 3.5 miles, so this is really about a 70-cent increase because our flag throw currently is $3. We charge $32 an hour for waiting time. We want to make it 36. We really want to discourage people from using us to sit still, because the more cabs we have to sit still, the more cabs we need. And it's not like we're trying to earn a lot of money on waiting time. The point of it is we don't want to wait. We'd like to take you somewhere, drop you off, and then come back and get you. Just, it's cheaper for you, and we can use the cab more efficiently and take care of more customers that way. Currently, we have about 55 employees, drivers, and staff in our office. 14 of them are Warren residents, so this would also come back to the community in a manner of speaking. So any increase we get from the council today goes directly to the drivers. The drivers pay for their own fuel. This will help them defray the cost of that fuel.
Thank you very much for keeping the costs reasonable. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Madam Chair.
Ms. Vogt?
Just a correction. It's $3, the flag throw is $3 per flag throw. It's not $3 per mile.
No,
correct?
ma'am. It's just when you get in the cab, the initial
Yeah,
throw of the meter
what's
is
on our
$3.
agenda is flag throw $3 per mile. So we just need to strike out that per mile.
All right,
And
any
Mr.
other?
Finazzo, I apologize that I missed the meeting. I just,
Oh, I didn't know you were the one person who missed, so.
yep, well, now you know.
But thank you for the apology.
Any other comments? All right, with that, I'll go ahead and call the question. Mr. List?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Buckman?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Item number 16 is audience participation.
Our first speaker tonight is Tony Police, but I believe he may have left us for the evening. Pardon me. Next speaker is Karen Spranger. Good evening.
Good evening. Today, my name is Karen Spranger. I am just overwhelmed and just very disappointed with the council member not responding to me from a written letter I handwritten went to the council office, dropped it off, requesting the smart meters to be put on the agenda, March 3rd. I also wrote a letter, again, to the board members, March 17th, 2011. No written response back, no telephone call, no recognition. I am appalled by your arrogance, your back-turning, and your inconsideration in this matter. I further to proceed to contact my legislator. He immediately responded back to me from a phone call, writing to me, "Thank you for calling me to express your opposition to the installation and use of a smart meter technology in Michigan homes. You raised many good points regarding the possible health risk associated with the new technology, and I believe the safety of any new device should be thoroughly tested before it's used, it's made widespread. There is no current legislation introduced in either the Michigan Senate or the Michigan House of Representatives that addresses the smart meters technology. As a member of the Senate Energy and Technology Committee, I will keep your concerns in mind should any legislation come before the committee. Again, thank you for calling me, and if I may be of assistance in other state matters, please feel free to contact me." Now that's something respectful. Even if he didn't agree with my position, he recognized it. And still today, I cannot have you excused for your unprofessional response to a citizen, to a resident, and to a homeowner in Michigan. I beg you to reconsider my request, and if I have to seek matters in the court of law just to get my exercise right to speak or even to put something on the agenda, we need to talk. So someone please contact me. I don't know what else to do. I will take this matter up with the mayor. Of course, the letter was written both to you and the mayor. I know you have been reading the materials. I went to the office. I heard some conversation with the secretaries, but not one of you had decency to call me. I'm sad. This is a hot topic, and it's very controversial. I understand that. But let's deal with it realistically and use some common sense. Do we need citizens to get sick from the smart meters? 3 of them in the homes? I still don't have information on the type of smart meters that the water department has either purchased, bought, have a name for them. I inquired. Now I have to find another way to get the information. Council members, can you help me get this information? I'm asking for help. I thought my letter was pretty well established. I don't expect everyone to agree with this health hazard, but let's look into it. Show me the evidence that it's not. If California is having trouble, Texas, other states, other countries, they are having troubles with them. What is it going to take for the state of Michigan or just the city of Warren to look out for the people?
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Sharon Schmidt. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Good.
I want to thank everyone, and I hope I can make a point. I hope that these smart meters are being employed worldwide. It is not just in our little small town and area. So a picture's worth 1,000 words, wouldn't you say? So I'm going to hold up a picture, and I want you to see all the little red circles, and I want you to pay attention to the United States, because that's the country we live in, okay? So take a good look. This is the map. And this is working on employing all smart meters in all homes throughout the world, okay? So now all these homes are going to have all this energy going out. Do we know if they're safe? Do they have any standards worldwide? What problems do we have with our neighbors? We all live on this planet. And if this energy travels through our air, what is it going to do? Air is something that we use every day. We have to have it, or otherwise our planet dies. Now, with the water and the smart meters and electricity, that is a way of controlling our energy so we have peak time or whatever it is to shut down so we can redistribute our energy. But we all pay for it, just like we pay for our cell phones, our computers. So we're going to have people that are going to have the have-nots, and we're going to have people that can afford all of this. Because what it's all going to come down to money. Follow the money. All these grant monies, everything was implemented. It's so easy to get money to put the smart meters and everything, all our technology in, because we got money to do it. So now we got a couple more money to make it worldwide. So I'm going, why are we always in a hurry? Why do our technology have to rule us? We have 24 hours a day. And I want you to remember, these meters, 3 of them, 24/7, like a watch. They don't go to sleep. They're constantly working. And we have to go to sleep with it because some of our smart meters are going to be on the wall where we sleep. So if they're working all the time, we might be bombarded by something. I don't know. But I wanted you to leave with this thought too, because I think this is really funny, but yet it's serious. Because now we get to eat with them, depending on which place of business we go to. So here's another picture showing you smart meters, right where the food is, where you can sit down and enjoy the smart meters while you eat too. So I think safety, health, and standards are first. Money should be last.
Our next speaker is Pauline, I don't know if it's Holton? Holton, thank you. Good evening.
Hi, Pauline Holton. I'm from Shelby Township. I got 4 words for you: safety, health, cost, and our privacy. Does any of this mean anything to you? I am so feared of these meters for our safety. Fires on the older homes, catching on fires. Do you understand what could happen to some of these older homes if this new technology is put on? We talk to people all over the country. Houses are on fire in the whole shot, and our health with all the EMF from these radio frequencies. And the cost. Let's talk about the cost, how much it's going to cost. Do you realize senior citizens, my husband and I are senior citizens, I'm scared to death what these are going to cost. It's going to be very costly for all of us. They can even shut these things down if you don't pay your bills. And what's going to happen then? And then let's talk about our Fourth Amendment right under our privacy. Do we still have constitutional rights? These are going to be invading our homes. Everything you buy is going to have a chip in it. And they're going to be able to tell what we're doing, when we're doing, and all that. I don't like that. And I think the people of Warren should do something about it. They should be up here saying, no, I don't want these meters. No to you guys. You guys should get this on your agenda. People have to know what's going on in their houses. Karen and Sharon are great troopers. You should take time for them. They deserve that. They deserve that respect. And I think you guys should get together and get it on your agenda. I am trying, my husband and I and other people are trying to get it put on Shelby. DTE needs to come in here and tell these people what's coming on, because we should fear this. We should all be afraid of this. It's global. It's a takeover, and we have to stop it. And it's up to you to do it. And I'm asking you, Fourth Amendment right, where's our privacy? I'll close with this. I've got some information for you guys. I'd like to put it on record. Bill Schuette's office about these meters, he thought they were going to be costly. I think you should take time to read this. Connecticut, also another good read. How they thought, how expensive it's going to be. Another good read for you all. I hope you take this and look at it and read it. Very good read. These people deserve it. People in Warren. Our state deserve it. Our country deserve it. Also, number 3, one last thing. The Army has a report about RF and signaling and stuff, with animals and stuff. You should read it. It's appalling. This is scary stuff. Read it, please. God help us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Will you be leaving those with the recording secretary? Thank you. I will have it read into the record at another meeting. Eugene Sawyer is our next speaker.
Members of council, good evening. Citizens of Warren, good evening. My name is Eugene Sawyer. I've lived in the city since 1957. Over the last 30 or 40 days, maybe the last 60 days, we've had a lot of problems here with redistricting in our city. Well, there's been a lot of rumors about challenges, about attorneys, you name it. Mr. Dean Barry and myself, we have retained an attorney, and it is currently going to be under review what this council has passed, and we are under no obligation to reveal what exactly is going to happen, but I hope that the citizens of the city of Warren will have some good news for you. And before I leave, I have a message from Mr. Kyle Atkins. He can't be here because, as you all know, he's not feeling well. His message to this council is, if you close Station 1, you are indeed imperiling yourselves. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Dean Barry.
Good evening, Dean Barry. I'm in a good mood tonight. I have filed for City Council. I look forward to the weeks and months ahead to meet as many people as possible, weather permitting. In the meantime, anybody wishing to contact me and want to know my views on the issues may do so at 586-698-2346. I hope that as I go door to door in the upcoming weeks and months, that by observing their quality time and their no soliciting stickers and avoiding walking on their lawns, that I'll be well received, and I look forward to meeting them all. Thank you very much for all your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Robin Rekoff. Good evening.
Good evening. I have 2 comments that I want to make. Number 1 is, why is the sound system so poor? I'm not a senior citizen, and guess what? Hearing people at this particular mic, either they're too close, and the council did not say step back, so all it was muffled or very soft when city employees come up here. Council, it's very hard to hear some of them. Yes, some of the mics are turned off and then they're turned on, but it's very hard to hear. I don't have a hearing problem. Somebody needs to look into this system Because when I caught the little bit of the mayor's presentation, which I didn't know was even going to be today, the volume was perfect for him. The second thing is, I usually don't come up to this mic with my coat on. This is April 12th, and this is going to be my ongoing issue that I had last fall. Why is the air conditioning on since the announcements were made? It has been running this entire night. It is not 80 degrees outside. It is not 80 degrees in this building. It is, the last time I heard on the news, it was 61 outside. That does not constitute having the air conditioning run for this monstrosity of a building. People on the council know how to reach me. I'd like to have an answer as to who is authorizing to have this air conditioning turned on. I talked to the communications department, and I've gone out there in past times, and they've gone up and they've shut it off. And I did it tonight, and I was told, no, they're not authorized to go and shut it off anymore. But it's kind of ridiculous to sit here since before 8 o'clock, and it is now 11:23. I want my comments that I have made tonight on the record. I don't want a little synopsis as part of the minutes. This is an ongoing issue that the residents have to pay this air conditioning bill. It is part of the budget of this building, part of my understanding the budget of Parks and Rec. I don't see Henry Bowman here tonight. Who authorized for that air conditioning to be turned on and being run this length of time to cool a building that maybe in the next hour, if we're lucky, we'll be vacating? Do we have some mystery people that are staying overnight that need to stay comfortable in air conditioning? I don't think so. So I challenge at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people on that council that know how to get a hold of me. Or if they don't, be creative. My phone is there, my answering machine is there, 24/7. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Deborah Mullins.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing? I just got something very short and simple to read. I want to read to you. I've talked to some of the residents in South Warren, and I kind of went for a ride in a vehicle and just kind of looked around. So I just kind of wrote this little statement. This is not easy for me to say, but it is a necessity to be heard. What I'm referring to is the integrity of the city, the constituents that are in control of the services we receive, the people that live in South Warren. We, the people, followed their suggestions, recommendations, being respectful, patient, understanding, cooperative. Why can't we as Warren residents from the South End receive the same in return? The mistakes that have been made have made the road to here. Yes, we live in a stagnant economy. We all are trying to prevail. The results are obvious. The employed are now receiving unemployment. The buildings used to be occupied with businesses are now boarded up. The parking lots used to be filled with vehicles from customers. They are now vacant. The windows used to display merchandise for sale. Now they show sales of bankruptcy, foreclosures, abandonment, etc. The neighborhoods used to be filled with The neighborhoods that used to be filled with pleasantly filled with people is currently becoming a ghost town. It is apparent that the current policies and procedures that are being implemented within our city are not working. We, the people, need accountability for the circumstances that are affecting us all in such a catastrophic way. No more changing the laws and doing it their way. We, the people, need you to listen. The people are wanting more right and a lot less wrong. Explore new avenues to get our city where it needs to be by individuals that keep it real and truthful. And that's all I have to say tonight. So you guys have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Henry Krzysztofczyk.
Madam
evening.
President, distinguished members of council, honorable city attorney. Henry Krzysztofczyk, longtime resident of the city of Warren. Scott Stevens, you do a terrible job of interpreting state laws. I believe you said something about the Open Meeting Act in disposing of publicly owned property should be in a closed session. I don't know where you get that from. If you would do one thing to it, there's eight or nine sections there. Can you tell me what section that is in so I can read it? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. What is it? You can't tell me because you got caught again exaggerating and not telling the truth. And next time you quote a state law, I'd recommend that you go to city attorney or ask the judge for opinion. He says, there is, it will be noted, a difference between a purchase of real estate and a sale of real property. Those are the two. The city buys, the city sells. Now, which of the two would be a closed session, Mr. Stevens? I will tell you, when you purchase property, but when you sell public property, who does it belong to, Mr. Stevens? It belongs to the taxpayers. And you're going to shut them out of the process of disposing of publicly owned property under the guise it's in violation of the Open Meeting Act? Sir, read. Mr. Bacamino, you made a statement that you're not going to break any laws on the issue of Ms. Folk, whether she should abstain from voting for a notification of a pending lawsuit. Well, by God, you broke the state law in the Home Rule City Act under Section 117.25A, or is it 27A, and Section 36. It says here, Section 36, no provision of any city charter shall conflict with or contravene with the provisions of any general law of the state. And going to 27A, it says here, the local legislative body shall file the apportionment plan with the city clerk and make copies
Make a motion to
available.
extend Mr. Krzysztofczyk's time by 3 minutes.
By Mr. Bacamino.
Support.
All in favor?
Nay.
Thank you.
The yeas have it.
Now comes the issue.
Can we have a
Mr.
roll call?
Sure. And a motion by Mr. Bacamino and a support by Ms. Comartin to extend Mr. Krzysztofczyk's time. Mr. Bacamino? Yes. Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
No.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski? Yes. Mr. Stevens?
No.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Were you
Mr.
afraid
Warner?
of Mr. Stevens?
Camp, yes. The item passed.
The five of you
Three.
broke the state law when you confirmed those two appointees in the redistricting commission. Now, what does that tell you? There's a lawsuit. And thanks to Mr. Barry and et al., I won't mention the other names, you people took a gamble and lost. Mr. Stevens, it was your vote, the fifth vote, that got us into this mess. If you would have voted no, there'd be no lawsuit. They didn't have a quorum. And the city council would have done the job that they were charged with. Now, election time. How many hundreds of thousands of dollars is this lawsuit going to cost? And I know the residents are going to win this one. How much is it going to cost? And who's paying for it? The taxpayers? And then you people got the guts and the gall that has to be reelected. This guy here, Stevens, can't even read a state law. The other thing you come up with, Mr. Bacamino, you're challenging the per diem. Donna Cole-Martin gets a per diem. Now, are you aware of that since I believe the year was 1989, that this has been going on to every single council person that was on that body was getting $50 per diem as per recommended by the bylaws and the state law? Now, all of a sudden, it becomes, after 3.5 years, it becomes an issue on Donna. Well, I'm going to tell you this, Donna. If they cut that $50, resign. And I'm going to urge you to resign. And let me see which one of these jokers will take your spot. It's held at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Mr. Stevens can't even make the afternoon meeting at the Housing Authority. He's not there all the time. Now, what happens if Donna steps aside from the pension board that she's on, which starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and goes 3 or 4 hours, and she gets 0?
Motion to extend Mr. Christopher's time by 3 more minutes.
Motion by Mr. Bacamino.
For 2 more minutes?
2.5.
Support.
Mr. Christopher, please.
You see this, ladies and gentlemen and listeners? This council body is afraid of the truth. I don't have the extension of time. And again, that is a violation of the Open Meeting Act.
I have a motion
Because
for
this
2.5
is
minutes.
audience participation, and when you shut us off, we're not participating.
I had said, please continue, Mr. Christopher.
Yeah,
You what?
I had said, please
we
continue.
gave you 2.5 more minutes.
I didn't.
Oh, you accepted it?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. The point I'm getting at is why are we nitpicking over something that's been in existence for over 22 years? Now, she's a commission salesman. She has to take time from her work. Mr. Bacamino, why didn't you complain for day one when you people appointed her? You all voted for her. Donna, it's not worth it. I would resign. Therefore, that would leave a gap in there. You protected a lot of the citizens' money. Let somebody else take it for a change. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joe Dabrowski.
Thank you for the time extension.
Good evening.
Good evening, Council. 2 subjects I want to touch on tonight. Unfortunately for you guys, it's not you. The state of the city and the budget presentation. I don't care if you're on the mayor's side or if you're on his opponent's side. His actions at the state of the city and at his budget presentation tonight were inappropriate and unexcusable. The state of the city was supposed to be just that. Tell everybody the state of the city. It wasn't a campaign platform. The budget presentation tonight, the first 25 minutes was political bannering or grandstanding, whatever you want to call it. People actually got up and left the room so they didn't shout out obscene outbursts. And I think that's unacceptable. And I think somebody needs to hold them accountable. Like I said, I don't care whose side you're on. I've told all of you this at one time or another. The rules need to be the same for everybody. Now, if the past administration had stood here and done that, Mayor Fouts would have had a cow or 2. And I think it's inexcusable to allow that to go on. And I think all the taxpayers need to hold him accountable and tell him he needs to stop. When it comes to giving a presentation, give the presentation and let all the petty politics be. It's not campaign season yet. He hasn't even announced whether or not he's going to run, so let it go. Get over it. Give your budget presentation and stick to the budget. He spent 10 minutes on the budget and he zipped through it so fast, half the people don't even know what he said. I just think it was inexcusable. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gloria Sanker.
Gloria Sanker, good evening, City
Good evening.
Council. Well, it happened again. Abortion is an important part of why the budget wasn't passed this week and that the federal government almost closed down. That's how important it is. You will recall that abortion was also a primary reason for holding up the health care bill. While many people say, I don't want to talk about abortion, it seems to be a very big discussion in our government on how to use our tax dollars. Does anyone know why? Except that Planned Parenthood is one of the largest campaign fund makers to the president. Yes, the funding to Planned Parenthood almost held up the passing of this federal budget and the closing down of the federal government. Why is the government in the personal lives of people? Nowhere in the Constitution does it say we, the taxpayers, have to give our tax dollars for abortion. And neither does it say we have to give millions of dollars each year to Planned Parenthood to pay for abortions. It doesn't matter how poor Americans are, how hungry or without jobs Americans are, funds must flow to Planned Parenthood. I wonder, is there a silent clause that this president and his people have made between themselves and Planned Parenthood? Since when are the American people responsible for personal issues? It seems our government is more worried about getting abortions for people than getting them jobs and helping them keep their homes. Abortion causes serious problems for women, like breast cancer and mental stress that affects their lives. And for the government, there is a loss of revenue and military. The decline of population in Europe is very real, and we are starting to feel its effects here. Who will pay for Social Security and Medicare for the aged in the future? Well, Congress doesn't have to worry about that. No one can mess with their wages or benefits. Why is there focus on abortion except for paybacks to campaigns? That's why they are feeding Planned Parenthood $350 million. I said $350 million every year, even though Planned Parenthood has been caught in violation of many of the laws. Our country is in an economic crisis, and still of high importance is the funding of abortion at home and abroad. Why can't government see the urgency to stop this horrific act? I have about 4 sentences. It just goes to show that we have become insensitive to the killing of the unborn, and we have been convinced that women are not hurt and harmed by this act. Government needs to stop using our tax dollars to promote and pay for abortions and start getting involved in creating jobs and keeping this country safe. Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. Next agenda item?
Next agenda item is 18A, Councilwoman Kathy Vogt, discussion in re consideration of redistricting map.
Ms. Vogt?
Would make a motion to approve redistricting map that has been submitted.
Motion by Ms. Vogt,
I'll support that motion.
support by Mr. List.
It's in your packet.
Pardon me.
This was actually discussion, please, Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Vogt.
Okay. I've attended a couple of the redistricting meetings. I was there when the maps were presented and the districting commission chose a map that is pretty much north and south with a few little jigs and jogs in between along the way. And I've spoken with a lot of residents who are very unhappy with the map because, as I understand it, the purpose and the desire for dividing this city into districts, and I'm very opposed to dividing the city, but that's been approved and we have to go forward, is that they wanted an opportunity for new people to be able to file. Well, the way This district that is proposed by the redistricting commission, it carves out a district for the incumbents. There is no open district. There is a map that I have attached that was proposed by Mr. Joseph Hunt. Mr. Hunt is here tonight. If we could suspend the rules and he can maybe tell you a little bit about the map and how he came to these particular districts. Council is willing to suspend the rules.
I have a motion to suspend the rules.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Mr. Hunt, would you?
Do a roll call real quick.
Oh, okay.
I have a motion by Ms. Vogt, support by Ms. Comartin, was it?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
I have a, never mind. No.
Mr. Green?
No.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
No.
Mr. Stevens?
No.
Mr. Warner?
No.
Camp, yes. The motion to suspend the rules failed 5-4.
You guys violated another state law.
Okay. All right, here's the thing. All right?
Set up and don't know it.
Yeah, I did. Yes, I
Ms.
would.
Vogt, if you would,
Okay,
if you'd like to bring Mr. Hunt up and question him, we don't.
okay.
Madam
Mr. Hunt, you have a copy of the map
just
and
can't
you
give
have,
Hi, I'm Joseph Hunt. I live at 8306 Stanley. I have a copy of the map. I was going to put it on the overhead projector.
if we may, that would be helpful.
Yeah, specifically, this map takes into consideration the people at the south side of the city. When they put that proposition on the ballot to divide the city into districts, it's like, in the 54-year history of the city, why? But apparently, the people of South End really need
They're working on it.
the people of South End need representation. We're not getting it. And of course, after going through the redistricting commission, I was one of 4 residents that went through and basically submitted a map. And I like Chris Pasternak's map. It was really good because it took all of the elements of all of the various places of the city. Quite simply put, when I submitted this map, I took into consideration the south end of the city. And of course, all of the different zones. What I want to do is just point out the current map.
Is this questions, or is he presenting something?
I just said.
No, I'm just saying.
Let me get to the
The
questions.
current redistricting commission map doesn't take into consideration
Mr. Hunt.
anything but you guys.
Where is Centerline in this map?
It's the same as the other one.
Okay. Okay.
There's the block inside of it. I mean,
right.
I sort of expanded upon it.
Okay. All of your districts are contiguous. Is the population pretty much equal? I know it's not exactly
It's
equal.
not exact. I don't have those statistics on the big map that the planning department had at the redistricting commission. They basically put it on the table, said, could I get it? And then they took it away, and I hadn't gotten it back. That's the only place where the actual 2000 census numbers are contained.
Okay.
I mean, but basically what it comes down to is, when I submitted this map, I basically understood that the reason that the voters went through and approved 5 different districts and 2 at large is because the people at the south end of the city would have people from the south end of the city in their neighborhoods representing them, as opposed to everyone that lives north of the ditch.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hunt. Appreciate it.
Any more comments, or should I just go away?
Unless.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Finish. If someone else has a question, then I guess.
Okay, I'll just stand here.
All right. Thank you.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
When Ms. Vogt's finished, you can have the floor, Mr.
Thank you.
Bacamino.
I'm sorry. We'll talk after. Okay. The Home Rule City Act, Section 117.27A, states very clearly that is up to the legislative body, and it defines legislative body as meaning council, common council, or commission of a city. All right, we're the council. State law says we must do the districts. If any of you have read it, I enclosed it just in case you haven't had an opportunity. Ms. Comartin, Mr. Liss, and I have talked about this section repeatedly. Mr. Bacamino says he doesn't want to violate state law. Well, this is our obligation, to look at and make a determination on the districts. I had thought perhaps the administration would send the map from the redistricting commission to us for approval. Then at least arguably they could say the legislature looked at it. That hasn't happened. And they're looking to finalize this April 15th is the next meeting, I think. So that it's not coming to us. So it's up to us, this body, to take a look and make a determination on the maps. I don't know, well, I do know because I was at the meeting. There was no other council member there. Ms. Comartin's husband was there as her representative, so I know he was there and took all the information. We asked that the meetings not be held at 10 o'clock in the morning because it makes it very difficult for working people to be there. I'm sure Mr. Bacamino can't just leave school whenever he feels like it and leave his students sitting in the classroom. And, you know, many of us have obligations during the day. So, nonetheless, despite our request, the meetings continued at 10 o'clock in the morning, and even this next one will be held at 10 o'clock in the morning, I believe. A resident pointed out to me that it is our job, by state law, it is our job to do this. And if we don't, then the lawsuit that is filed could be against us for failing to do our duties. So that's why I put it on the agenda this evening. And I think we need to take a look at the redistrict maps. And then I keep saying redistrict. I don't like that. We're not redistricting, we're districting. So that's all. Thank you.
Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to go back in time a little bit, and I'm going to remind this body and everybody in the audience that prior to the election, I asked that we send this up to the Attorney General for an opinion based upon what we had received from Lansing. I got no support for my motion. It was brought up it should be a declaratory action. Now that was by our two attorneys on here that recommended that. Did they bring it forward? No. So I brought it forward, asking for the declaratory action to be done. It couldn't happen. It was bad information. It was a country lawyer, whatever you want to call yourself. But then I get ridiculed from the audience by the individual that wanted to be on the districting commission who now insists that yes, who signed the petition, and I get ridiculed by that individual for moving the city forward. And I've got a copy of your application to be on the commission, as a matter of fact. Okay? So if you want to get up at audience participation and say half the truth, fine.
Madam Chair, is the communications working? I don't see the...
And what I did was try to head off these problems.
Thank you.
Months ago, and I was poo-pooed or received no support for it. So I take offense when somebody who was on the opposite side because the wind was blowing one way, and now the wind's blowing another way is on the opposite side. You know, I can't help that. You know, I can't stick my finger in the air and say, what is Henry going to want me to do today? I do what I believe is right for the majority of the residents of the city. Madam Chair, I have the floor.
Please don't state his name.
I didn't say his name.
You said Henry.
Could have been Henry.
Could have been Henry Ball.
In any effect, I don't disagree with what Ms. Vogt said about what the Home Rule City Act says. I brought that up. And now I get ridiculed for it? No, I'm not going to sit back and take it. I received no support for trying to do what the right thing was at that time. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Bachmino.
Thank you. Is it Mr. Hunt? Joseph Hunt. Joseph Hunt. Thank you. I just one question. Are you the Joseph Hunt that has filed to run for mayor?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for you. Madam Chair, also, I just want to remind Ms. Vogt and the rest of the council that also in November, immediately after the election, I proposed adjusting the city ordinance that would have allowed us to have a redistricting committee recommend the districts and give council the authority then to approve, but I was not given any support as well, and that is in the minutes. And we could have rectified this way back in November, so I don't know why now, Ms. Vogt, you're calling for the council to give its blessing on this when I presented a change back in November right after the election. I received no support as well. You can look it up in the minutes. The specific change would have limited the redistricting committee to only recommending to council and given us then the authority to either thumbs up or thumbs down were my exact words in the minutes. So we did have plenty of opportunity. I do agree with Mr. Stevens. Waiting to the 11th hour is probably our own making for not supporting initiatives in the past. The only initiative we have supported was to stop this proposal, most of us, and I think now that it has passed, we should move forward. I do respect state law, but however, the law of the land is a city charter until somebody, as some of the citizens have said they might do today, make an appeal and we get a ruling. But right now, the law of the land is the city charter. That's why, again, the law of this land is the city charter until we have a ruling, an appeal. And if the state law is shown to me that we are in violation, if you can prove it to me, then I guarantee you we will yield. The other thing is the meetings during the day, Building Authority has their meetings during the day. We have lots of meetings during the day. Some are paid, some are not. So are all meetings supposed to be in the afternoon or is all in the morning? No. They're there, saves money for the city employees to go when they're on the clock. In the past, the Building Authority, as much pointed out by some of the audience members, some of the city employees were paid to attend Building Authority meetings during the day. That action has been corrected voluntarily by some of the city attorneys, the city assessor and the city treasurer and the city controller. They do not accept pay anymore. So whether the meetings are during the day or the afternoon, I understand it may be inconvenient for some, but that's the way it is. It saves the city money. I will adhere to any law as long as it's proven to me by a court. And with all due respect, you are a lawyer, you're not a judge, and I will wait for that decision when the ruling is made. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Madam
Mr. Martin.
Well, I'll yield the floor.
No. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. When you go to this Home Rule City Act, we're talking about Section 36. It says that no provision of the city charter, it specifically talks about the city charter, can violate state law. So it can't conflict with it. Right now, we are in conflict with state law because what was approved is not following the Home Rule City Act. Even in the Home Rule City Act, Section 5, subsection 5, it says the local legislative body shall file an apportionment plan with the city clerk and make copies available. We are not filing anything. Unfortunately, we had a commission, and it was even talked up here about the commission and that why are we appointing 2 members after there were several meetings that were held, and then those members are just going to vote on a map at that time? And you know what? That is exactly what happened. They went there to that meeting and they voted on that plan right then and there. So what kind of research is that? I mean, there's a lot of residents that has looked at that plan, and it's true. The focus was to represent the south end of the city. And as far as I'm concerned, I would like to represent the whole city. That's my job. That's what my job has been here. I don't care if I get a call at 14 Mile, 8 Mile, wherever. It is my responsibility to go there and help the resident out in the best way I can and try to get their situation resolved. But this plan that was passed does not do what it was supposed to do. So, and it's not even following the proper guidelines. So it is all wrong. So, and I have stated that from day one. I have been very explicit on the state law, and I'm not going to change my vote, and I'm not going to, conduce to anything that was done in the improper fashion, period. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Sadowski.
Individuals keep focusing on one aspect of this districting, this change that's happening on council. Then, if you object to this, then object to the whole thing, and then throw the whole thing out. But but the thing that I have to, a lot of the members out here that are complaining about it right now were people that signed the petition. I did not sign it. But what I'm saying then is if the focus then, and a large majority of the city said this is the way that they wanted to have it done, and then as it was spelled out on the ballot, and if you're disagreeing with, should it be council drawing up the map, or should it be this commission that the people actually voted yes on, then you have to nullify the whole thing. And then if that's the case, I'm good with nullifying the whole thing. I was against the districting thing. I think it's a stupid idea, but I think the people of Warren were misled, and but at the same time, everybody had an opportunity to read the ballot, and then they voted in a particular manner. So from that standpoint, then, if this group misled the voters of Warren, then I guess from this standpoint, you don't look at the one aspect, whether we have control or not. If we don't have control of it, then you throw the whole thing out then. And that's the way I look at it. So it's either all or none, according to the way I look at it.
Madam Chair.
Mr. List.
Try to express my comments without getting mad or getting sarcastic, but I tend to be a very sarcastic person. So bear with me. I agree with Councilwoman Vogt and Councilwoman Call-Martin. It's clear that state law applies here, and we have a duty to complete these districts here at this table. It's become clear that the political machinations of this proposal have culminated in gerrymandered districts. Several residents asked me last time what gerrymandering meant. I had a sign here that had the districts, and it had the word gerrymandered emblazoned across it. Gerrymander is named after Governor Jerry of Massachusetts, who was one of the first people to design districts that freaking look like dragons. They meandered all over the city, all over the state, until he picked up exactly the vote count he wanted. These districts are gerrymandered. It's clear to me there is no sense, there is no reason to them. They're not compact. About the only thing I can say for them is that they are fairly close to population counts by the U.S. Census. Still, there's so much to be said about this charter amendment. The charter amendment also requires an immediate amendment of the districts for using the 2010 census. But ironically, even though on one hand we've heard that the charter controls, on the other hand, then I've heard that state law controls, because the 2010 census under state law that districts can be challenged in 4 months. Even before that, there was an opinion that said state law controls the number of signatures and not the charter. So I don't trust where this issue's been going, and it's come down to just a terrible districting map. One of the districts is barely contiguous. 3 of the districts go from 8 mile to 14 mile. 3. One of the districts looks like it's having some kind of, it's strangling center line. It makes no rhyme or reason to me why it loops around center line like that. But the attorney office, the request for the attorney's general office opinion, we discussed that at great length. And the Attorney General does not have to take requests from city councils. I can almost guarantee you that the Attorney's General office will not take a request from a city council because we have our own legal staff and we have access to the courts. The Attorney's General office is general counsel for the state of Michigan. That means that whoever occupies that office, he or she represents the governor, the executive branch, and the legislature, not Home Rule City Act cities or their councils. The declaratory action, I disagree with how that was handled too, but the council took no further action on it. I thought that, ironically enough, the city of Troy had it's somewhat of a similar issue about their library. And they sought a declaratory action, and I sent a copy of that over to the city attorney's office. And they were successful in Oakland County, imagine that. They had a question on whether or not a petition drive had sufficient force of law to mandate that their city council fund their library. And it was a question, just like here, whether or not state law control or the city charter control. The court ruled in favor of the city and against the petition holders, the petition backers. So, that being said, I think it's plain as day that we need to adopt some kind of districts here, the districts that comply with federal and state law when it comes to one man, one vote. And Mr. Hunt, I think, has done a yeoman's task. They are contiguous, they are compact. They also, I think, recognize the true intent of the voters, which is to try to provide more representation in the south end without ignoring the north end or the middle where I happen to live. With that, Madam Chair, I yield.
Any further comments from council members?
Madam Chair, one last question,
Mr. Stevens.
or one last statement. As it's pointed out in the backup, this map is based upon voter densities, not population, which is required.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Warner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair to the city attorney, is it possible that this body can vote on the map by the next meeting, or at the next meeting, for the map that was approved by the districting commission? Would that suffice? Turn your microphone on, please.
When I cast my vote regarding the district, I did so as a member of the districting commission, of which I was a member by virtue of my position as city attorney. That commission has met and ultimately voted on a districting plan, which it adopted. I voted based upon my best judgment, and I must assume that my fellow commissioners voted the same. I am now acting in an entirely different capacity as city attorney. It would, in my opinion, be inappropriate to comment further regarding the question of redistricting, not only because there's a potential lawsuit, but it's been stated today there is one. Any statement I make now may be construed as rendering legal advice on an issue that I will very soon be entangled in, apparently, and unfortunately, and would be taken as a legal opinion when I cannot act as lawyer in this matter, because I'm, as I said before, at the very beginning of this matter, I was conflicted out, and I still believe I'm conflicted out.
Call the
Much for
question,
that.
Madam Chair.
Well, I would be happy to, but I just have a couple of quick questions. First of all, are you asking for approval on this specific map as designed by Mr. Hunt? That we adopt this map?
Well, I wouldn't mind hearing from other council members if they have some alternative maps.
No, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying in regards to the fact that it was my understanding that there were 4 maps that were submitted, and I think for council to, if we're going, I've supported all along that council take the action and accept what the voters have passed and create the districts, following the Home Rule City Act. But that being said, I think we are obligated, much as we criticize, 2 members that showed up to the redistricting commission to just accept the map that was put in front of them. I think we have the same diligence to ensure that everyone here has reviewed equally all maps submitted, and or if they choose to submit their own. I only think that would be the prudent thing to do. It's not that I don't agree with Mr. Hunt's map. I actually commend him. I think it looks like he did a nice job. I don't personally buy, if whatever the voters' intentions were as far as representation to the south end, they had the opportunity to be a candidate, to support candidates throughout the city. I know several candidates that have run for office before that lived in the southern portions of the city that didn't garner support, whether it was from people from the south end or the north end. So I don't see where by just drawing a district, yes, it forces people to run in those areas, but I don't necessarily know that they'll get the representation they were looking for. And I don't know that being at large, all members, prevents people from the south end. I'm a case in point. 2003, I lived south of 696, had no political ties, did a door-to-door campaign on a minimal amount of money, and managed to get elected. So it's not to say that this is something that can't be done. I personally choose to serve the city as a whole, and will run my next campaign as that as well, at large. And as far as my fellow colleagues that have brought up issues to try and address this early on after the ballot initiative was passed, they had my support on many of those issues. As council president, I cannot make or support a motion. But it's unfortunate it has come to this. I would question what action, if a lawsuit has been served on the city or will be served on the city in the next day or so, or whatever time frame, us taking action, how does that implicate that? And I would want to see all possible considerations in regards to any maps that we would approve.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Vogt, and then Mr. Sadowski.
Perhaps we should then table this, ask that we at least be presented with the other maps.
I agree.
Yeah.
And come back to it. So, it's a motion to table.
Motion by Ms. Vogt to table.
Support.
Support to table by Ms. Comartin.
Put to the next meeting.
To the next meeting.
For 2 weeks. Ms. Vogt.
Yes.
Ms. Comartin.
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino.
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Liss.
No.
Mr. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes, to table.
Camp, yes. The item was tabled 8-1.
Next agenda item, this was Councilwoman Kathy Vogt asked to add part of the informational only information that was sent to us. This is regarding city vehicles.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes, Madam Chair, I make a motion that Well, this is something we dealt with a year ago. We asked actually to get a list of all the city vehicles and who is driving them. And we asked that all vehicles except the police undercover cars, what have you, and we didn't want those on the list of vehicles identified, be provided to us, and that those cars, all city vehicles, be marked. Well, we got the response almost a year later of, no, you suggested, if you want us to do it for real, I guess we've got to do an ordinance. So that's my proposal, is that we have the city attorney draft an ordinance that all city vehicles be marked clearly with the city emblem on them. Be nice to know what department they were, but at least have the emblem. Yeah. And that city council be apprised of who has what vehicles, who's driving them. I think we should know that. So.
I have a motion by Ms. Vogt.
Support.
Support by Mr. Liss. I'm sorry. Were you finished, Ms. Vogt? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, and I just wanted to say, I mean, we've asked, we as a body ask for information. It wasn't provided. You ask individually for information. It doesn't get provided. Why do you think those FOIAs are out there? It's because the transparency, it's not there. You want, I mean, I can't meet with the department head without Mr. Fouts sitting there. I think that's silly, but that's the way it is, and that's what I was told tonight. The only way to get information is to really go after it. There wouldn't be lawsuits if, in response to a FOIA, you got the information you requested, but that doesn't happen either. So that's a big issue. So that's all I've got to say.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Sadowski, then Mr. Liss.
Were you not satisfied with the resolution that was here on the back?
Well, the resolution isn't doing it. Okay,
Okay, no,
that's just a request.
I'm just asking, that's fine, if that's...
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to, we're going to have an ordinance. Seems extreme, but that's what we've got to do.
Mr. Liss.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Ms. Vogt. I read the note from the city attorney's office. Yeah, I think we need an ordinance to make it clear that the vehicles need to be marked. The public has a right to know that those are City of Warren vehicles. It's a safety issue in case employees come to people's houses, that they're clearly marked. One quibble that I do have is that after reading the charter, my read of the charter is that the mayor is charged with executing the policies that are set by the city council. So I think that even though an ordinance is better, I still think that a resolution of this council is the force of the law of this city. And that it states in the charter, the mayor must affect the policies of the city council. I yield.
Any other comments from council members?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Bacamino?
Just one. I know the vehicles should be marked, and I think they should be. I disagree with whether they should be departments, because I know, being on the automobile committee, a lot of times vehicles that are older then are transferred to different departments. That would incur more cost than to continually change the department label. I would, agree that we need to label it as a City of Warren truck, but to save money, whatever the fleet rotates from police to DPW to Parks and Rec, just to save costs, I would rather, is that part of your motion then, to also label departments? Because I'd rather see it just as a city.
We just need to have it clearly marked.
I would agree.
Having the department on there would be nice. Some cities do, but at least.
Which cities? 'Cause I haven't seen cities with departments. I've seen them with their city logos, but not. I know Mr. Stevens works in Southfield. Do they do that, or?
I think Royal Oak does.
Royal Oak does?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Royal, I don't know, but just for future costs, I do know on the automobile committee we do rotate the fleet, and I just like to see City of Warren save costs down the road rather than repaying them every 3 to 5 years whenever their mileage is up. Thank you.
In Royal Oak, the person who's primarily responsible for that vehicle, their name is on the vehicle too.
Any further comments from council members? Just one comment. Mr. Liss, I would agree with you wholeheartedly in the fact that council should have the authority. But this argument has gone on for years in the fact that we're a strong mayor, that he sets the policy. This is the interpretation that has been fed to this council in previous situations, that he sets the policy, we simply administer the budget and only have the one opportunity at the adoption of the budget, other than, unless it's by a request of the mayor, to amend that budget throughout the year. I strongly disagree with that interpretation, always have. And I would actually, maybe on the next agenda, like to see if we can't get that clarified as well. Because I think a resolution should not just be taken as a situation of, you know, advisement, maybe we will, maybe we won't. If a majority of the council feels that that's something that should be enacted, it should take place. So, with that, I will call the question. Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Liss?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Green? Ms. Comartin?
Yes.
Mr. Buckamina?
Yes.
Camp, yes. The motion passed unanimously.
Next item is adjournment.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ms. Comartin. Support by Mr. Green. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The meeting has adjourned at 12:19 a.m.